One Piece Treasure Box System, Chapter 441-460. Chapter 0441-Roha's Plan. As soon as he stepped into the gate of the clan, Roha saw the Whirlpool clan patriarch Whirlpool Jade Pillar, who was sitting casually in front of the low table in the center, and was pulled by Kushina to sit opposite it before he spoke. Kushina, go play first. Akiba and I have something to talk about. Oh Tilda, with an unhappy face, Kushina walked out with a small mouth, looking back at Roha frequently. Seeing the little girl go away, the Whirlpool Yuju just put his gaze on Roha, gently picked up the cup of tea in front of him, and took a sip. Chuya, you are also an older child. Although you have just returned, there are some things that I would like to be able to communicate with you. Yeah, although the name of the big child was really heartfelt, Roha still pretended to be listening. At last night's clan meeting, the elders already felt an uneasy atmosphere, and maybe a war will break out soon. You are the elite of our clan, the genius most likely to grow to the shadow level. In order to protect you, we hope you don't reveal your talent for a while. I asked him piecemeal for a long time. Maybe he felt that Roha was precocious, and there were many things that Vortex Yuju did not hide. The current situation and the current situation are all concise and to the point. After listening to the words of Vortex Yuju, a sudden thought emerged from Roha's mind. Immediately, the corner of Roha's mouth evoked a faint smile. Patriarch. Huh. The Whirlpool Yuju looked at Roha, only to see the rotating pentagram, and was instantly pulled into the world of purgatory. Heart Eater began to activate, constantly injecting the subconscious of obedience into his consciousness, forcing change its outlook on life. A full day has passed in the purgatory world, and it is still a moment outside. After exiting the illusion, he took a few deep breaths, and the undead body quickly recovered from the exhaustion of the body. Sir. Vortex Yuju knelt down in front of Roha on one knee, with obedience and admiration in his expression. The expression, like looking at a god, made Roha put a smile on his face. Sit down. When there are other people in the future, you can just call me by my name. Yes, my lord. With a respectful response, the Whirlpool Jade Pillar sat down again. Her eyes were clear, and she didn't look like she was caught in an illusion. This is the terrifying ability of the Kaleidoscope Shaker's ultimate illusion, which can silently change everything about a person. From hearing the Whirlpool Yuju talking about the current situation in the ninja world just now, Roha had an idea in his heart, and quietly preserved the Whirlpool family. In the future, he will definitely gather the supreme treasure chest and completely control the world. In this case, he must have his confidants and subordinates to manage it for him. The ability of sealing technique is indeed extraordinary, and the talent of the Whirlpool family can be used. Anyway, his current identity is also a part of the Whirlpool family, and he can take over it logically at that time. On the bright side, if the Whirlpool family is immortal, I am afraid that the major countries will not be at ease. Even Konoha, who is now in power of the 3 generations of Hokage, is not as sunny as the surface, otherwise it will not condone Danzang to establish its roots. Now that he has controlled a patriarch, more than half of Kaleidoscope's mental pupil power has been consumed, and it will take a long time to recover. But this is enough for the time being. As long as the Whirlpool family has their own voice and pushes forward their plans, then the surface will appear to be exterminated, and the Whirlpool family will be able to use it for themselves in the end. After figuring out the various joints, Roha and Vortex Yuju expressed their thoughts, and dipped their hands in water to draw the simple terrain of Naruto world. After that, you have to express your thoughts of escaping from the world at the clan meeting, to avoid the crushing of war. If there is a reason, use the reason that the new generation still needs time to grow up. I think you should be better at this kind of thing. After that. Yes, my lord. After listening carefully to what Roha said, Vortex Yuju responded without hesitation. As the patriarch, although he could not decide in one word because of the elders, he also had great authority in his hands to do these things. It just takes some time. On the ninja world map, there are many open spaces now. The Moon Kingdom, established after the Third World War in the original book, has not yet been occupied by anyone. In Roha's plan, the next goal of the Whirlpool clan is it. Hidden identities sneak in, get a makeover, and start a new organization. By lurking and restraining the edge, after the end of World War II, gathering some vagabonds and subordinates, you will be able to clear your identity. The details were instructed bit by bit, and Roha came out of the clan under the congratulations of the Whirlpool Jade Pillar. Just after walking a few steps, I saw Kushina with 2 calves and a bunch of balls on the side of the stall. This girl has been waiting at the gate of the clan because she is worried that her brother will be reprimanded by the clan leader. Brother, you're out. Jumping off the bench of the stall, holding the ball in his hand, Kushina trotted all the way to Roha, his face full of worry. Why are you waiting here stupidly? Several hours have passed since entering the clan, and waiting for such a long time is not easy for a little girl. Brother, you must be hungry. Eat balls. Every time I am reprimanded by the patriarch, I will eat balls. After eating, I feel better. Holding the ball in his hand high, Kushina showed a bright smile and handed it to Roha as if offering a treasure. Looking at the ball in his hand, a warm current passed through his heart, and Roha stretched out his hand and ravaged the top of Kushina's head, messing up his long red hair. Listening to this little girl's words, she knew that every time she was called to the patriarch's place, she must have been reprimanded. She was reluctant to leave in the clan just now, because she was worried that her elder brother would be reprimanded. The patriarch didn't reprimand me, but thank you Kushina for the meatballs. Then, please eat barbecue. Yeah. The little face was flushed, the smile was as moving as a daisy, and as pure as crystal. Jushin Nai took his brother's palm, and the worries in his heart were instantly driven out. Eating the already cold balls, feeling the little girl's heart, Roha put on a long-lost sincere smile on his face. Chapter 0442-Clan Meeting. Wuchao village is not as large as Konoha, and there are only a few food stalls in the village, which are already the favorite of Kushina's children. Barbecue is a rare delicacy in their hearts because there is no relationship with the store, and they are naturally excited to hear that they can eat barbecue. Without a shop, he could only be self-sufficient. With 1,000 copies in his hand, Roha took Kushina into the forest where he hit the giant snake for the first time. There are still a lot of wild animals in the dense jungle, and Kagura has captured their movements clearly. Call out. Chinbin shot, and a pheasant was also nailed to the ground. Chinbin ran through its head neatly and fell to the ground without struggling. In a moment, Roha's hands were already full of prey, pheasants, hare, and even a large boar, which was quite rewarding. Brother is amazing. Can you teach me Tilda? Kushina, who looked like a little star, followed Roha obediently and watched him kill the huge boars with one blow, which made him irresistibly worship. Since being rescued once, Kushina's brother's figure has always appeared in her heart, even in her dreams. The first thing she does when she wakes up in the morning is to be with him. Of course you can, brother can give you whatever you want to learn. Lovingly rubbed the little girl's head, Roha walked out of the jungle with her. The bonfire is raised, all kinds of prey are skinned and deboned, and after cleaning, the barbecue officially begins. With all kinds of secret seasonings from the pirate world, the smell of grilled meat made the slap in the corners of Kushina's mouth flow down, and the thought of wanting to learn just now was thrown behind her head. Roha constantly controlled the flames with the burning method, making every side of the barbecue golden and making a squeaking sound of oil. If Yao Lao, who is fighting the world, sees that Fanju is actually used to control the fire and roast meat, the 3 corpse gods who don't know whether they will be angry or not will jump into a rage and yell at the gods. After a while, he brushed on the secret sauce, put down the yolami that he had already drank in his hand, and Kushina couldn't wait to tear off a chicken leg. Don't rush, eat slowly, there are plenty. Tilda liar, if you slow down, brother will eat them all up. Hoo tilda so hot tilda. Kushina took a big mouthful, and said while blowing, that cute little appearance made people laugh. Slightly embarrassed scratching the tip of his nose, Roha is still a little embarrassed about Kushina's truth, and his appetite is placed in the world of Hokage, which is definitely a shocking existence. I'll leave a lot for you, don't worry. Scraping Xiaonizi's nose, Roja also began to eliminate the food in front of her. Brother, will you always be so nice to me in the future? Well, it will. Then you have to roast meat for me often, Tilda. Well, good. After a barbecue meal was eaten in a warm atmosphere, leaving behind a pile of dry bones, Kushina lay on the ground and touched her bulging belly. A whole pheasant, the hind legs of a wild boar, for a little girl of this size, it is absolutely superb. Brother, teach me ninjutsu, next time I will save Brother Tilda. Lying on the lawn, Kushina had a bright smile on her face, reaching out and pulling one side of Roja's shirt. Okay. Flicking the corners of his eyes, he really couldn't bear to break the little girl's confidence. Roja scratched the tip of his nose and agreed. If his strength is in danger, let alone Jushinai, the six-path immortals may not dare to say that he can save them, but he always has to give Xiaonizi some hope, right? What does Kushina know now? To teach Kushina, you must first understand what the other party will order, otherwise, you will not be able to start. Roja, who already has the experience of being a master, is familiar with this kind of thing. Well, Tilda, seal of fire, seal of evil, seal of two instruments, seal of fingers, seal of King Kong, there are only 5 Tilda. Kushina looked embarrassed, showing her white teeth and smirked at Roja. 5, only. Stroking his forehead, Roja was helpless about what Xiaonizi said. In addition to the 3-body technique, Konoha Village's lower ninja can master 1 or 2 ninjutsu, which is quite remarkable. Kushina has mastered 5. He also said that it was the only one, which made those Jinin know that they had to wipe their necks to commit suicide. Wait, only. It was only when Roja came to understand that Kushina had never learned the 3-body technique at all, the avatar technique, the transformation technique, and the avatar technique. Although they were the most basic ninjutsu, their effects were quite extraordinary. Then I'll teach you the 3-body technique first, and then exercise the control of chakra, and then teach you the rest. The excited Kushina nodded hurriedly. Of course, she had heard the name of the 3-body technique. As an ally of Konoha, the country of the vortex naturally also had the 3-body technique. However, those ninjutsus can only be learned after the age of 8. The Uzumaki family believes that sealing is the foundation, and there are certain restrictions on the learning of other ninjutsu. If you can learn these things in advance, you will be able to become stronger earlier. Of course, Kushina is extremely happy. One was willing to learn, the other was willing to teach, until the sun set, and after Kushina reluctantly said goodbye to Roja, the two went home separately and agreed to do the same the next day. Just sitting down and preparing to plan the next treasure chest looting trip, Roja's Kagura felt that the ninjas of the ninja level began to gather in the hall. It has started. There was a smile at the corner of his eyes, focusing on the perception of Kagura's heart in the hall, and the situation there was also clearly fed back. 23 Shang Nin, plus the Patriarch and 2 elders, 3 elite Shang Nin, a total of 26 people arrived one after another and took their seats in the hall. Patriarch, what's the matter with calling everyone again? Uzumaki Nasa Sami, who had met Roja twice, was all qualified to attend, and asked first. Well, there is one thing that everyone needs to vote on publicly, and there is another thing that needs to be announced. Seeing all the people coming, he nodded to the 2 elders, and the Patriarch Vortex Yuju began to talk eloquently, and first said that a vote was needed. Chapter-443-Tsunade's arrival. Unsurprisingly, what Roja said was exactly his plan. And after some detailed processing and improvement, it is more detailed and comprehensive. A variety of situational analysis is attached, which makes the appearance of this plan more justified. After listening to the words of the Patriarch, the hall fell into silence for a while. The sense of honor of the Maelstrom clan made each Shanjin seem to have been greatly insulted. Making a new face means asking them to abandon their original surnames. Even if the Patriarch said this was just a temporary stopgap measure, the pride in their hearts made them feel extremely humiliated. Elder, what do you think? Uzumaki Nazuo was silent for a while and first started the conversation. Out of trust in the patriarch, he chose to listen to the opinions of the elders. Things have not yet reached that step, but the shadow of war has begun to hang over, and it will break out within a year or two. Yuju has taken into account aspects that we have not thought of. To be honest, I am very pleased. Although there is no direct support, the meaning has been expressed very clearly inside and outside the words. When the two elders who had grown old and matured made this suggestion in the afternoon whirlpool Yuju, at first they were the same as those present here. But after all, he has experienced the cruelty of the First Ninja World War. After listening to the analysis of Uzumaki Yuju, his heart has faintly fallen to his determination. We are allies with Konoha, why can't we ask for Konoha's support? Even if there is a war, we can. Tsubaki, Konoha has changed since the death of the first Hokage Senju Hashirama. Whether it's Senju Tobarama or Sarutobi Hidden, have you not seen what they are doing? How come, we are allies, Konoha's ninja costume still has the family emblem of our family? Tsubaki, you are so naive. They just use us as a tool to create the power of man. Hyjin Sarutobi is how he treated the Senju clan after he came to power. Quote. That's just. A fierce quarrel began in the hall, and Shinjin was divided into 3 factions, neutral, opposed, and supportive. For a moment, the atmosphere of the entire hall was as chaotic as a vegetable market. Enough. Snapped. A palm slapped on the low table in front of him, and the whirlpool jade pillar showed the majesty of being the patriarch, suppressing the noisy venue. Let's discuss this matter later. Everyone should think about it when they go back, and then announce another matter. Seeing that the venue was quiet, Vortex Yuju saw that there were only a few people in the venue who supported it. Knowing that this kind of thing should not be rushed, he changed the subject and talked about another matter. About 2 more days, Konoha's people will come, select talented children, and serve as the next person Zuli, and keep the last seal in mind, understand? Understood. Even if they disagreed just now, but at this moment, the cohesion of the Uzumaki clan made them answer in unison. No matter what attitude Konoha is, it is undoubtedly the most important thing to keep the most talented child in the clan now. Let's end the meeting. Keep everything you just said in your heart and don't tell anyone. Yes. After the clansmen of the Vortex family responded, they walked out of the hall one after another, and the Vortex Jade Pillar sat on the main seat with a helpless face. It will take some time, they will figure it out. An elder patted the Whirlpool Yuju on the shoulder and slowly turned to leave with another elder. Kagura's eyes completely fed back the situation in the hall, and Roha was beaming with joy, and the Swirl Jade Pillar's resolute approach and the ability to make a decisive decision were very much in line with his mind. When the majority of people disagreed, they resolutely chose to allow the discussion, and as long as those who jumped out to oppose it were communicated, then the matter would be successful. After one night, in the early morning of the next day, the sun rose, and the sun dispelled the chill of the night. Kushina, who was jumping, came before Roha's residence. Brother got up. I'm in here Tilda. Before he could wake up, Roha, who had just opened his eyes, put on his clothes, and after saying a word to himself, Kushina had already barged in. Yeah, she covered her eyes with an exclamation, and Kushina's face turned red, and her brother's shirtless upper body just now made him fall into a state of shyness. Brother, why don't you wear clothes Tilda? Little devil is big. Rolling his eyes, Roha got up from the soft couch and dressed in 3 or 2. I left a pair of big pants when I slept at night, and I didn't want this rambunctious girl to see it. Brother is ashamed Tilda. The little hand covering his eyes quietly exposed the seam. Seeing his elder brother put on clothes, Kushina shaves his smiling face. It is obvious that the small appearance is making fun. The courage is getting bigger and bigger. Do you still want to eat something good today? With a light hit on the little girl's forehead, Roha started to wash. God knows where this little girl gets so much energy in a day. It is clear that she was exhausted yesterday, and she is full of vitality today. Is the constitution of the Vortex clan so perverted? Oh no, I learned the three-body technique yesterday, and my brother said that he would treat me to eat today. It's delicious, delicious Tilda. With a cute mouth, Jushina directly began to act like a spoiled child. It seems that Roha does not agree, and is about to start rolling around. Okay, okay, she rubbed the little girl's red hair helplessly. Faced with such a Kushina, no matter who she was, she would raise their hands and surrender. A day was spent in training, because sealing requires extremely high chakra control skills. Kushina successfully mastered climbing trees and treading water. Such a speed made people have to praise her talent. Konoha's people came faster than Vortex Yuju imagined, and the lineup of the three Shangnin had already arrived at Vortex Village that evening. Roha, who has been keeping Kagura's eyes open, also sensed the arrival of several people, but the appearance of the leader made him twitch in the corners of his eyes. Tsunade. This woman, who seems to have an entangled relationship with herself, actually appeared here at this time, isn't it? Recalling what happened at Konoha's house before traveling through time and space in his mind, Roha suddenly became enlightened. Chapter 0444-Cause and Effect of Space-Time Theory. Counting this matter, I am afraid that 90% may still be my own pot. Traveling back to World War II, and meeting the young and tender Tsunade, how could I let it go? In this case, she will definitely try every means to get her treasure chest. This kind of space-time theory is very complicated. Because of this thing, there is a law of inevitability and causality. Moreover, when looking at the cause and effect of time and space, we cannot simply use first and later to understand and look at it. For me, it was the future Tsunade I met first, and then I traveled through time and space to meet the young Tsunade many years ago. But for Tsunade, it was the first time he saw that self who came from the future, and as time went on, he saw that self who just came to Hokage from the world of pirates. In other words, the order between the two is actually reversed. For human beings, time is constantly advancing and passing. But relative to the entire time stream, time can be constant, or even flow in the opposite direction. Just like watching a movie, the characters in the movie can only move forward along the plot. But as an outsider watching a movie, you can rewind and pause playback. Because of this and that, future Tsunade will show strange reactions and appearances when he sees him. Roha rubbed his forehead in aphasia, and had to go back to his hut, and then used Kagura's eyes to constantly detect the meeting of Tsunade and Uzumaki Yuju and others, and incidentally also explained the purpose of Tsunade's coming here. A clear. The next day, as soon as the sun rose from the coastline, Roha was woken up by a sudden knock on the door, and the little girl Kushina was more active than anyone to wake her up. After cleaning up for a long time, yawning constantly in his mouth, Roha was simply taken to the square in the center of Edi village by Kushina after a simple wash. Tsunade Junin, this is all the children under the age of 10 in our village. The whirlpool Yuju nodded at Tsunade, and the serious face made a group of children who were pulled from the warm blankets jolted and woke up. Thank you Yuju Patriarch for your cooperation. He also nodded at the whirlpool Yuju, and Tsunade also had a stern expression on his face. Standing among a bunch of children, looking at Tsunade who was obviously a little green, but still moving, Roha couldn't help scratching the tip of his nose, sighing secretly in his 20s, which is indeed the most attractive age for a woman. Akiba, come this way. Uzumaki Nasa beckoned to Roha from outside the crowd, calling out to him. Roha, who already knew what these people planned, raised his eyebrows and let go of Kushina's little hand. He rubbed her little head, gave an encouraging look, and walked towards Kaizuo. Patriarch Yuju, who is he? That child is called Uzumaki Akiba, because his father is a samurai from the Kingdom of Iron and hates ninjutsu very much, so he has been working hard on fighting techniques and swordsmanship under the influence of his father, and is determined to become a strong man with fighting techniques and swordsmanship, alas. Vortex Yuju opened her mouth to explain, and sighed with a pity. Putting Roha on the bright side and letting Konoha's ninjas see it, it is far better to directly dispel the doubts in their hearts than to hide it. This kind of above-board behavior will not cause suspicion. Yeah, taking a deep look at Roha, after Tsunade took this special child in his heart, he turned to look at the child in the square. We are ninjas from Konoha Ninja Village. We are here to select outstanding talents to go to Konoha and promote peaceful and friendly relations between the two countries. Among you, 3 of you will be selected to receive education at the ninja school there. Inheriting the usual speech gestures of the Konoha people, Tsunade Takao stood in the crowd and talked eloquently, bluffing a bunch of children to the north. But looking at Tsunade's unthinking appearance, Roha knew that this girl was completely reciting the manuscript, scratched the tip of her nose, and watched with relish. The whole article is very similar to the speech style of the 3 generations of Naruto Sarutobi, and it is almost the same as the brainwashing jokes of the previous life. Konoha is depicted as a dream of heaven, with the best education, the most prosperous street, the happiest life, and the eyes of a group of children are shining with yearning light. The matter of Hiroshimari is Konoha's secret, and the fact that Uzumaki Mito is about to pass away is unknown except for the high-level officials of both parties. On the bright side, the 3 selected children left in the name of promoting friendly exchanges between the next generation and jointly maintaining the relationship between the 2 sides. After speaking, Tsunade, who was standing on the high platform, breathed a deep sigh of relief. For this short speech, she had memorized 3 days of manuscripts along the way. Even so, she forgot a few words halfway through the speech. Complaining in his heart that his teacher gave such an unreliable task, Tsunade swore in his heart that he would never say anything in the future. It was really worrying. Now take the stage one by one and test the amount of chakra first. A Junin behind Tsunade came out and directed a group of children to line up one by one. Tsunade's medical ninjutsu can easily detect everyone's chakra volume and whether there is any hidden disease in the body. Although it is a little more troublesome than the white eyes of the family, but it is also more comprehensive, and will be sent to do this kind of work. In the first round, more than half of the children were eliminated, leaving only a few dozen people standing on the stage nervously. These are all outstanding children of the same age. The second round begins, testing the sealing technique. One by one, the children began to show the sealing technique again. After this round, there were only 5 children left. Among them, Kushina and Kuniko, who had not seen him for a long time, were impressively listed. The selection of Zuli, of course, must choose the person with the best bloodline. The 5 children have similar talents, but among them, Kuniko and another child named Kiongo lose a lot in appearance. Tsunade and Uzumaki Yuju have returned to the clan, and the content of their discussion is nothing more than the exchange of resources, taking away 3 children with outstanding talents. Although 2 of them will come back soon, one of them is a human column. The power will always remain in Konoha. It is obviously impossible for Konoha to not pay any price. Every ninja village is a collection of interests. Even if the relationship is good, it is impossible to send talents to other villages for free. Chapter 0445-Tsunade's head touch. Tsunade and others have to stay in the Whirlpool village for 1 more day, and the 3 selected children also need to say goodbye to their families, so that the family can have a psychological preparation process. Kushina jumped off the stage, trotted all the way to Roha's side, and plunged directly into his arms. Brother, I don't want to leave you. I don't want to go to Konoha, woohoo tilde. Kushina's crying pear blossoms bring rain. No matter how beautiful Tsunade's speech, Vice Admiral Konoha, is depicted, in her heart, it is not as good as her brother's coming important. Tilde, Kuniko in the stands also burst into tears. He could see clearly the look in the Jonin's eyes just now, and it was clear that he was once again disliked by his appearance. No matter what others think, Kuniko always wants to go to Konoha. She has lived in an environment surrounded by the sea since she was a child, and she longs to see the outside world more than anyone else. When Tsunade described the beauty and prosperity of Konoha, she was deeply attracted. Rubbing Kushina's head and looking at Kinako in the stands, Roha frowned, but there was a way in his heart, but he didn't know if it was right or wrong. Kuniko. Back into the crying Kuniko, With a shout, Roja took the two to his residence. In the system warehouse, there is an appearance copy card that was opened before, which can replace a person's appearance, and when he grows up, he will look like that appearance when he grows up. Walking into the room, the two little girls couldn't help choking. One was not wanting to leave, and the other was desperate to go but had no chance. "Brother, I don't want to leave you, so let me stay by your side, okay?" Wow Tilda, Kushina opened her throat and started to cry again. Her appearance was very pitiful. "Brother, what can you do to help us? Kushina doesn't want to go, but I want to go. I want to go outside, go to Konoha's village and see the world over there." Kushina begging, looking at Roja. As an orphan, she has not been treated by Kushina since she was a child. The freckles on her face and her short stature made her ridiculed many times. The people in the clan didn't like her. The grandma who sold the balls would give it to Jushinai, but she wouldn't give it to her. When she got close, she would be disliked. Every time the patriarch reprimanded her, she was always punished. The little friends regarded Kushina as a treasure, but ignored her. Right now, even the opportunity to go outside and have a look has been brushed off. Roja looked at Kushina and Kinako, sighed, and then said his own way. Let them decide for themselves, and even make it clear what they will encounter when they go to Konoha. Is that okay, Kushina? Looking at Kushina expectantly, Kinako had a faint pleading on her face. Well, thank you, Kuniko. It should be me thanking you, Kushina. After muttering for a while, the two little girls faced Roja and told him their decision with a firm look. Kushina, have you really decided? You have to know that if you do, you will give up the identity of Kushina. Well, brother, I have decided that I will stay by my brother's side forever. Kushina nodded vigorously. In his heart, being able to be with his brother was more important than anything else. Status or something, she doesn't care at all. Seeing the reaction of the two little girls, Roja couldn't say anything more. It has always been Kuniko's dream to be beautiful, and her heart is naturally incomparable desire. He took out the appearance copy card in the system warehouse, and after Roja communicated the system in his mind, he slapped it on Kushina's body, and turned his head and slapped it on Kinako's body. Appearance copy card used successfully. The system's prompt sound came, and Kuniko's body began to undergo drastic changes, just like Roja using the disguise technique, and the bones and appearance in the body became more and more like Kushina's appearance. A few seconds later, Kuniko, who had completed the change, looked at her hands and feet in disbelief, took the small mirror that Roja handed over. Her eyes were full of tears. Her dream was completed. Roja took out the artist cloak that Ain gave him when he left the pirate world, and gave it to Kushina next to him. After telling how to use it, Kushina directly turned into Kushinako. For the time being, Kushina will also play the role of Kuniko Shimo. The two completed the reversal of their identities, which is different from the transformation of the ninja. No one can tell this change. Early the next morning, Konoha's ninja was about to leave, and both Roja and Kushina came to bid Kinako farewell. Under his instructions, in order not to reveal flaws, the three of them didn't say a word. The leading Tsunade looked at Roja, who came to say goodbye to the three children, with an interesting expression on her face. After all, her fighting technique is also quite outstanding. In front of this child of the Whirlpool family as big as his younger brother, he inherited his father's will and had such a goal, which made him feel a little favor. The same is true of the rope tree at home, inheriting the will of grandfather, determined to become Hokage. Seeing him, Tsunade couldn't help but think of his younger brother who was still studying at the ninja school. You are the same age as my younger brother. If you have the opportunity to come to Konoha in the future, I will teach you fighting techniques. Leaning down, Tsunade stretched out a jade arm and placed it on top of Roja's head. The big sister covers your expression. Me. How could Tsunade, this fierce girl, be such a jerk when she was young? He actually used, touching the head, on himself. The corners of Roja's eyes twitched for a while, and the identity of the 8-year-old kid he was playing made him feel uncomfortable for a while, and he was actually molested by a girl. I also want to teach myself fighting technique. Should I use her to teach my fighting technique? I don't know how many streets I've dumped her for a long time, okay. Embarrassingly throwing off Tsunade's hand, Roha pulled Kushina as if walking in the village, and decided fiercely in his heart that after his plan was completed, he went to Konoha, and he must call Tsunade, the fierce girl, to sing and conquer. What a stubborn child, exactly the same as Rope Tree. Tsunade looked at Roha's back and pointed at the chin with a green jade, with a cheerful smile on his face. Tsunade Junin, it's time for us to go. Well, good. Hearing his companion's call, Tsunade answered, turned his head and stopped thinking about it. The three joinin each led a child and rushed towards Konoha at high speed. Chapter 0446-resolution passed. On the third day after Tsunade left, Roha quietly came to the clan, found the Whirlpool Jade Pillar drinking tea alone, and gave him a lot of ninjutsu. Since he chose to bring the Uzumaki clan under his command, then it is necessary to improve their combat power. Roha now has so many ninjutsu in his hands that he can't even count them. Water done, earth done, thunder done, wind done, fire done, water done and thunder done are the most, and there are people of various attributes in the Whirlpool clan. With these ninjutsu scrolls, you can greatly improve your combat power in a short period of time. You secretly pass on these ninjutsu. Since you are going to appear in a new identity, you can no longer use the sealing technique all the time. Yes, my lord. The Whirlpool Yuju respectfully took the ninjutsu scroll. After opening it, he couldn't help swallowing dryly. There are too many ninjutsus, and there are all kinds of knives in them. Such a complete ninjutsu system can even start a small ninja village. And this is a devil fruit. After you eat it, you can have magical powers. You can only eat one of them. If you eat too much, you will explode and die. The weakness is the water escape. When you encounter water, you will be powerless. However, as long as you protect yourself with chakra, water escape is not a big problem. Quote. Devil fruit. The Whirlpool Jade Column was surprised. This kind of thing was obviously beyond his comprehension, and Roha had to explain it in detail again. Paramesha, S sniper fruit, shield fruit, zone, S ant fruit and bird fruit eagle form. The four fruits include long-range firepower, super defense, super strength and sky reconnaissance. Vortex Yuju alone is not enough. Roha needs to cultivate a few more special combat powers to be able to carry the banner. After hesitating for a while, Vortex Yuju chose the ant fruit that was the easiest to develop and the easiest to exert its power, and devoured it. Feeling the feeling coming from the arm, Vortex Yuju kneeled in front of Roha with an excited look on his face. Thank you for the divine fruit. Even if I keep my current appearance, my physical strength has quadrupled. Well, for the remaining three, you can find someone you can trust, let them take it, and get familiar with this power as soon as possible. Don't expose it for the time being. When the country of the moon is established, it will be the power that you can rely on to deter the surrounding. Yes, your lord. The devil fruit was considered a divine fruit, which made Roha somewhat helpless, but when he turned his head and thought about it, he was relieved. Such an ability, placed in the Naruto world, is not a divine fruit. A few days have passed after leaving the clan. In the early hours of this day, the Uzumaki clan was attacked by ninjas again. Kushina, you hide first. If I don't come back, don't come out. Using the earth escape and subsidence technique, a small cellar was created to hide in. After Kushina was placed, Roha walked out of the house and flew out. Go to the sky. The Vortex clan needs some losses to let those stubborn people see the situation. But you can't lose too much, otherwise the Whirlpool family will be crippled, and it will be embarrassing when you go back to employ people. There are not one or two enemies who peep at the Vortex clan. The villages of Wu Ninja, Taki Ninja, and Sand Ninja want to get such bloodlines and sealing techniques. Soon after the village of Wu Ninja retreated, a new force appeared. Standing high in the sky wearing an invisibility cloak, With the technique of water and iron cannons in his hands, Roja kept an eye on the situation at the scene, and when he saw those who agreed to the plan, he silently helped. Seeing those who are resolutely opposed and will not compromise, even if they don't play tricks behind their backs, they will not care about their lives. These people will die when they die, and they will not be used for their own use, and it is useless to keep them. Rock Ninja Village. After taking a few glances at Roja, he determined the identity of the person who came. They did not have any sealing techniques. If they wanted to completely control the tailed beast, the country of the vortex had to come. The battle situation was agitated for a while, and slowly, the Maelstrom clan began to suffer damage. Although they reluctantly repulsed the enemy with the help of the large sealing formation in the clan, many people died, and a few useless weapons were also robbed. Corpse. Everyone's expressions were sad, and everyone had a precarious premonition. This was the second time in a short period of time. Each time it became stronger and harder to deal with. The seriously injured and dead members were placed, and a clan meeting was held again in the clan. In a more serious atmosphere than the last time, each Jonin silently considered the proposal that Whirlpool Yuju said at the beginning. Originally, they had endured 3 of the 23, and the empty seats made them stunned. How about the casualties of the tribe? Vortex Yuju, who was sitting at the top, said softly, with a little sadness in his expression. The death toll: 3 from the upper ninja, 7 from the middle ninja, 16 from the lower ninja, 43 civilians, the number of serious injuries. Enough. Everyone, let's vote on my last proposal. Sighing softly, the Whirlpool Yuju interrupted the subordinate's report, looking at the clansmen who were sitting again with a look of hope, and said, "Everyone, please, for my Whirlpool family." The voting at the scene showed a one-sided trend. This injury has made these people realize the seriousness of the matter, and this is the second time. When is the next meeting and how many people will come? After all, they are just a clan, how can they resist the power of Shinobi Village? It can be seen that it is far from 1 or 2 forces who are trying to seize their clan now. What role does Konoha play in this? Is it the default? Or is this another so-called political deal? All kinds of worries made them have to fall back to the patriarch's suggestion. The final resolution was passed, and a relieved smile appeared on the face of Vortex Yuju, who was in the first place. The things that the adults ordered are now finally on the right track. The next day, with the help of the patriarch Vortex Yuju, Kushina changed her identity anew. After all, Kunako's appearance was indeed uncomplimentable. On the surface, the Vortex village was calm, and it seemed that nothing had changed, but secretly it had already entered the intensive preparation stage. The remaining 3 devil fruits, the Vortex Jade Pillar, were handed over to a few confidants, who had already quietly brought them that night. Many clansmen left. Chapter 0447_Blood Follower Boundary Deprivation Card. After transferring a lot of clansmen from Vortex Village that night, they changed their faces, removed their clan emblems, and even dyed their hair other colors, quietly heading towards the land of the moon. After completing Roja's first arrangement, Vortex Yuju reported to him the next day. The clansmen in the form of Zone Bird Fruit and Flying Eagle have already headed to the location to investigate. With the ability to fly, the originally vast land seems to have become a little smaller, and it only takes a day and a half to go back and forth. Sir, the first step of mobilization has been completed according to your instructions. What should we do next? Kneeling in front of Roja on one knee, Vortex Yuju asked respectfully. Maintain the superficial combat power. The more concealed the action, the better. I will help you to clear up the troubles in the country of the moon. He instructed the Vortex Jade Pillar, and after it left, Roja used Shining to come to the moon. On the land of the country. At this time, the kingdom of the moon has not yet been established, and the forces are mixed. The betrayal and forbearance in the original work seem to be more handsome than each other. That is because of their own powerful strength, few people can threaten them. Ordinary betrayal and forbearance, from the moment they leave the village, they are faced with 1,000 miles to kill. If it wasn't for Sasuke's few reliable friends, Konoha would have issued a killing order to him long ago, and he would not have waited until Danzo became Hokage's agent. Every village has a special chasing and killing troops. Just like when Shui Wuyubai appeared in the original book, he used this reason to save him and then not cut it. In order to fight the pursuit and killing in their respective villages, these rebels and ninjas huddled together, drew the samurai and gathered their subordinates, while ensuring their own safety, while enslaving the civilians and enjoying themselves. Within the scope of the Moon Kingdom, there are 4 such forces, and there are constant small frictions with each other, but they will not go to war. The Siege of Shinobi Village. Roha stood at an altitude of 10,000 meters, looking down at the land of the Moon Country, and opened the system map in his mind. Going treasure chest. It's not bad, muttered to himself. Roha had a satisfied smile on his face. There are 4 factions in the small country of the moon, and one of them actually refreshed the going treasure chest. Obviously, it is not as simple as it seems. The other 3 factions, a silver treasure chest and 2 attribute treasure chests, are also good, and this trip is not a loss. The location of the going treasure chest on the system map, Roha's eyes shone with blood-red light, and his figure flashed to the vicinity of the going treasure chest. After using it several times, the grasp of the instantaneous distance has become more and more accurate. The buildings that are full of gray in the eye are a combination of the characteristics of the country of fire and the country of thunder. The streets are muddy, and the people who live here seem listless even in the early morning, as if they have lost their goal of living. Bathroom. Looking at the building that was incompatible with the surrounding environment, Roha's mouth twitched, and Kagura's eyes instantly covered it, and the situation inside was also fed back. In addition to the people who normally explain their physical problems, there is something special behind this public toilet, like a morgue, where 2 people seem to be checking accounts. Corner. Stepping through the iron shoes, there is nowhere to find it. It took no time to get it. I didn't expect to meet him here. No wonder the going treasure chest can be refreshed in this corner. It seems that this guy has been here for a long time. In the eyes of Kagura, Jiaodu was dissatisfied with arguing with the people at the money changer. Judging from the appearance, he already had a plan to do it. There is a change in the bounty of the 2. Shouldn't this kind of thing be notified in advance? You have been procrastinating for a few days. Time is money, and I wasted my money. Should I kill you now? Mr. Jiaodu, I am really sorry. Something seems to have happened in Wunin village recently, and the order to hunt down the 2 has been revoked, but it's only 1 million taels less. For a big man like you. Shut up. Take that 1 million taels out, or I'll kill you. Then Mr. Hornto won't get a penny from any of our money changers. Waving his hands again and again, the person in charge of the money exchange office stepped back step by step, and quickly retreated to the storage cabinet used to store the corpse. A drop of cold sweat fell from his face. He knows the strength of Jiaodu, and it is not an existence he can deal with at all. Jiaodu. At this moment, Roha's voice sounded. Jiaodu, who was already about to start, looked stunned for a moment, then dodged in a flash, and looked over with a vigilant look. Before Roha made a sound, he didn't find anyone coming at all. Roha didn't care about Jiaodu's reaction, walked aside and put away the going treasure chest, and put his mind in the system. The reason for speaking out is because the current Jiaodu is too different from the Jiaodu after joining the Akatsuki organization, and he turned his back to himself, so he just confirmed it aloud. System, open the going treasure chest. Congratulations to the host for opening the going treasure chest and obtaining the skill blood follower limit deprivation card. Blood legacy deprivation card. It can deprive the opponent of the blood legion boundary, and grant it to anyone, but the opponent must have no resistance. With a raised eyebrow, Roha showed a satisfied smile on his face. Unlike the previous copy card, the deprivation card this time was much more domineering, which directly caused the opponent to lose the blood he depended on for survival. This kind of method used on any blood ninja is more sad than death, and it will definitely make the other party feel unbearable. The most important thing is that it can give blood to anyone, whether it is used by oneself or used to train subordinates, this card is absolutely worth the money. Who are you? The green eyes showed coldness, the face under the mask could not see the expression clearly, and the dark tentacles had already appeared on Jiaodu's body, looking at the man in front of him eagerly. There was a playful smile on the corner of Roha's mouth, and he raised his eyebrows when he looked at the corner, and the figure became illusory and disappeared in front of him out of thin air. Space ninjutsu. His eyes widened in astonishment, and his corners were completely unable to understand the purpose of this person just now. Roha, who disappeared, appeared in the sky above the toilet in the blink of an eye. His figure rose higher and higher, and his hands kept forming handprints. Chapter 0448 beat the corner. Since he met Jiaodu, how could Roha let it go? The sudden departure was just because I couldn't stand the smell there. The stench and the strong smell of feces after the rotting corpse made him nauseous for a while. It was really unbearable. The super strong sense of smell attached to the undead body has obvious side effects. In the original book, it is not unreasonable that Inuzuka was stunned by one of Naruto's farts. Thunderbolt Thunder Dragon Art. Stab it. The rich electric light began to flicker, and the huge chakra in the body was injected into the ninjutsu frantically. The B-level Thunder Dragon Jutsu was even more terrifying than the A-level ninjutsu, and the volume was directly increased by 5 times. Go! With a low shout, Thunder Dragon flew towards the money changer at a high speed, and the electric lights made the whole town panic, and countless people started to flee in a panic. Boom! Due to various mixed gases, the Thunder Dragon produced a huge explosion, and various substances splashed, affecting hundreds of meters in a radius. Bastard! Whoever you are, I want you to die! From the ground came the roar of anger from the corners, and his entire body turned into a grudge, constantly wriggling to repair the wounds on his body. One side of the mask on the back was already shattered, and it was obviously destroyed by the big explosion just caught off guard. Judging from the appearance of the mask, it should represent the Earth escape. Angry. Originally prepared to lower his body and satirize the 2 corners, Roha couldn't help grinning as soon as he opened his mouth, and slowly flew out into the distance. It was so stinky. This has provoked public shit. Bastard! Don't run! With an angry roar, Zhao chased after him without hesitation. Having experienced such a shameful thing, his sanity has long been washed away by anger. What kind of space ninjutsu? The origin is unknown, all were left behind. The mask on his face had collapsed in the explosion just now, and Jiaodu had a black sauce-like substance on his body. The whole person looked. Not only did Roha feel horrible, but instead had an inexplicable joy. The 2 stopped far away from the town. Roha pinched his nose and turned to look at Dung Fury's Jiaodu, with a shy look on his face, secretly sighing, such a stinky opponent. I really don't know how to start. Aren't you running? Humph. Today I must. Seeing the opponent stop, a hint of joy appeared on Jiaodu's face, and he guessed that this kind of flying ninjutsu must be very expensive, and the opponent could not hold on for long. Stop. You step back first. It really stinks. Asshole. Before he could show the cruel smile on his face, Jiaodu jumped angrily, and the disgusting expression of the man in front of him deeply hurt his self-esteem. Boy, it blew up my silver tails, destroyed my heart, and so on. Water escape, great waterfall technique. He kept making seals in his hands, completely ignoring what the corners said. The simplified seals only needed 5 to release the technique of the waterfall. The overwhelming water was like a tsunami, and it swept toward Jiaodu out of thin air. Hearing the shout of the unknown man in front of him, Jiaodu also formed a seal in his hand, because the earth attribute mask had been destroyed, so he had no choice but to use other escape techniques. Wind escape oppression. The gust of wind swept through. As a veteran powerhouse, while avoiding the ferocious current to rise, he performed ninjutsu, and the corners matched the ninjutsu perfectly. Here, Fengdun had just used it, and the seals in his hands were not stopping, so he used Thunder Dun Ground Walk, trying to paralyze it by taking advantage of the conductive properties of Water Dun. Purgatory. Unable to bear the soaring smell on Jiaodu, Roha directly used the kaleidoscope illusion and dragged it into the world of purgatory. After the initial astonishment, Jiaodu looked at the pair of eyes in front of him with a serious expression. Vivi sighed in his heart, he had seen such a pair of very similar eyes before. Kakuto has lived for more than half a century, and has experienced the chaos of the Sengoku period, the separatist rule of the shinobi village era, and even the first Hokage Senju Hashirama has been assassinated. The Uchiha brothers, who were once famous for a while, were different from the more advanced writing wheel eyes of ordinary people. He was also fortunate enough to see Uchiha Izana perform it. Although he only glanced at it from a distance, it already made him shudder. Did Uchiha have such eyes again? Haha, the Chinsho clan has fallen. It seems that Konoha is going to be in chaos. If you have time to care about Konoha, I think you'd better care more about yourself. The world of purgatory does not have that annoying taste. Roha breathed a sigh of relief, and looked at Jiaodu, who was tied to the cross, mockingly. I have lived for dozens of years from the Sengoku period to the present, and there is nothing dissatisfied. Looking at Roha indifferently, there was a relief on the stitched face of the Angle. Now, he obviously does not have the kind of relief that he had more than 30 years later. He was abandoned by Shinobi Village and wanted, and the sadness of being a ninja made him physically and mentally exhausted. It's only been a few decades, is there anything to be proud of? Shaking his head, Roha, who was very disliked by this, see you for a long time, attitude, despised one sentence, and activated the ability of purgatory. The quest treasure chest in the system is waiting for this guy's secret magic to be unlocked. As the first quest treasure box that can be opened, the Angle must be kneeling today. 3 faceless figures appeared beside Jiaodu, and all kinds of torture took turns. Even in the spiritual world, the shrill screams made people shiver. 2 days later, Kanjao was already delirious, and Roha was lifted from purgatory. His purpose was only to defeat. If this guy was really distracted, the value would be greatly reduced. The Akatsuki organization in the original book was able to subdue Kakudu, why couldn't he? Although the behavior just now was a little too much, but this kind of old fritters, if you don't beat the other party first, why is it ideal? The goal is to convince him that it is not easy. Just after the purgatory was lifted, Jiaodu's body twitched for a while, and all the pain he suffered in the illusion world just now was imposed on him in an instant. The green pupils shrank sharply, and without saying a word, the corners fainted, and the body fell to the ground weakly, and even the grudges on the body scattered softly on the ground. Chapter 0449_Depression in the corner. Congratulations to the host for defeating Taki Ninja Village's rebellious ninja Kakudu, obtaining the fragments of the Supreme Treasure Chest, and randomly refreshing the Ninjutsu Treasure Chest. The acquisition of the Supreme Treasure Chest fragment was expected, and now with the fragments of the 4th generation Reikage, Roha has obtained 2 Supreme Treasure Chest fragments. Rubbing his slightly sore eyes, feeling that his vision was slightly affected, Roha pouted. It seems that I still have to figure out a way to obtain the eternal kaleidoscope, or directly get the body of a fairy, and see if it can evolve into a Rinnegan. Otherwise, even if his pupil power is stronger than Madara Uchiha, he will become blind sooner or later if he uses it like this. Holding his nose and dodging, he put the ninjutsu treasure chest with all the horns refreshed into the system warehouse, and Roha dodged away from the fainted dung man again. System, open the ninjutsu treasure chest. Congratulations to the host for opening the ninjutsu treasure chest and obtaining the secret art, Earth Resentment. Secret art, Earth Resentment. You can use chakra to control the black tentacles born in the body, which can be turned into ninjutsu suitable for long-distance attacks. Use the tentacles to capture other people's hearts, and attract them into the body together with the chakra properties, which can make basic part of the advanced ninjutsu of the 5 natures can make the user of the secret art become an existence close to immortality. Seeing the description of the resentment, combined with the information in his mind, Roha pouted. This kind of ninjutsu would probably be very precious if Orochimaru got it. After all, that guy would not care about anything for immortality. In the third generation of Hokage, she has become a woman without a little JJ. The body is even more disgusting white phosphorus Orochi. Various software transformations are added to him. This kind of spirit is not for everyone. Roha has been immortal since he obtained the body of immortality, and the ground resentment has no attraction to him at all. It is not uncommon to use 5 kinds of escape techniques. There is no problem to cast it. It's better to leave things like tentacle monsters to those with more serious tastes. Whoever they want to be abused can abuse, and I don't have that kind of hobby. Putting away his cranky thoughts, Roha looked at the quest chest in the system, and sure enough, its opening conditions have been completed. The first mission treasure chest, what will it be? The system opens the going mission treasure chest. Congratulations to the host for opening the going mission treasure chest and obtaining the Moonwell. Moonwell, from World of Warcraft, from the blessing of the god of the moon. Drinking can restore injuries, replenish chakra, and under Gecko at night, it can restore energy by itself. Moonwell. Seeing the Moonwell in the system warehouse that is comparable to a small cruise ship, Roha was so depressed, he couldn't help but start thinking about it. Although the Moonwell is very good, but in World of Warcraft, there are many cow buildings, and the Moonwell is just a very inconspicuous one. If this ancient war tree can be used, it will definitely blind everyone in the Hokage world. Even if Chinchujujian was still alive, the wooden dragons and wooden men under the wooden dungeons would not necessarily have worked on the ancient trees of war. Why is it a Moonwell? With a sigh in his heart, Roha can only accept the reality. After all, Moonwell is also a very precious thing in Naruto world. It can restore the injury and restore chakra, which means that it saves the training of medical ninjas and the manufacture of military food pills. In this way, in this chaotic moment in the early stage, Moonwell is more in line with the needs of the rise of an emerging force than the ancient tree of war. After I have wiped out the ninjas here, and the people of the Uzumaki family come, I will be able to release the Moonwell. The Kingdom of the Moon is paired with Moonwell, not to mention, it seems that the attributes match very well. After thinking about it, Roha looked at Jiaodu, who was still in a coma. He was tired and crooked for a while, and he picked up the handprint of Shui Dun again in his hand. Water escape water spout. This kind of ninjutsu, which was originally used to disrupt the enemy's camp and pace, hinder, and hurt the enemy to a certain extent, was directly used by Roha as a drum washing machine. The poor corners became the first testers of the drum washing machine, and in the precise chakra control, went with the flow. Countless tumbling in a row, barely washed the filth on the body, the chakra loosened, the waterspout disappeared without a trace, and the horns fell to the ground. Cough cough. The horns were swept up in the cold water, and woke up from the coma, slapped his chest, spit out the water he choked, and then lay on the ground with only the strength to breathe. Who tilde drink tilde. He closed his eyes and breathed heavily, trying to smooth his head that was about to burst. He saw the blue sky and white clouds in his corners, giving birth to a feeling of the rest of his life. I almost died. Don't worry, I have controlled my strength, and I won't die. Asshole. Jiaodu said angrily, turned his face to the side, and didn't want to pay attention to this man who kept playing with him. Even if his strength was not as good, he still had the temperament of being a strong man. Little horn tilde. Humph. If he wasn't afraid of those eyes, he would have to fight with the man in front of him no matter what angle he was talking about. Those eyes would be cheating in his heart. Follow me later. Why? I'm stronger than you. With a smile on the corner of his mouth, Roha sat beside Jiaodu with absolute confidence on his face. There are only a few people in Naruto world who can compare with him, and the rest can't even hurt him. Strength is not a reason. There are many people who are stronger than me in the ninja world. I only serve money. He squinted his eyes. Even if this reason can make most people surrender, Jiaodu no longer wants to serve anyone. The betrayal and disappointment in the past have made him no longer have the courage to believe in others, thinking that money is the most important thing. Reliable stuff. If you need money, then I should be the richest person in the world, and you just blew up the money changer. Bastard. That's what you fried. Does it matter? It's you who's on the scene anyway, and you'll never get a penny from the money changer again. Roja had a determined look on his face, which made Jiaodu sigh, knowing in his heart that he was telling the truth. Although the people in the money changer are not strong enough, the rules are very strict. Even if the underground base is allowed to be destroyed, one person will not be allowed to break the rules. Chapter 0450 Detailed explanation of Zanpakuto. For a pot like frying a toilet, of course, Jiaodu had to carry it on the back, and after a long time of grinding, the guy who excused himself was severely injured before he got up from the ground. Life is like a strong times, since you can't resist, you must learn to enjoy it. Knowing that he had no choice, Kakato began to discuss conditions with Roja. I won't work for you in vain. I only serve money. Now the bounty on the black market is 500,000 taels. Between 10,000 and 40,000 taels. Yes, their heads are really precious. He waved his hand in disdain, and Roha understood the character of Jiaodu Kaifan. This guy is really inseparable from money in 3 words. However, millions of tens of millions of taels are just a number here in Roha, and the treasure in his warehouse can be directly frightened to a myocardial infarction when released. Now in that town, there are 9 Chunin people and 11 Zunin people. Go and solve it. I'll give you a discount. According to the minimum amount, the total is 32,500,000 taels. As far as I know, there is also a Shangnin. Since you understand the situation so clearly, no probably didn't know the existence of Jonin. Junin is mine, you can solve it. That's a bounty criminal with a name and a surname, worth 22 million. I said, the minion is yours. After interrupting Kakato's words, after throwing a crystal clear and pure gem to the other party, Roha went directly to the position of Joinin in Kagura's heart. Such a big gem is worth at least 50 million taels. It seems that I really followed a big customer. Splendid tilde. The green pupil showed a satisfied divine light, and even the damage from purgatory dissipated a few times. After that, Jiaodu gave a gloomy low laugh, let out a grudge, and headed for the town at a high speed. 9 Chunin and 11 Genin want to solve all of them. Don't let them run away. Don't do it with all your strength, and you have to do things after receiving money. This is the rule of Jiaodu. 10 minutes later, stimulated by the money, the supernormal horns all wiped out the enemy, and the corpses of the rebel ninjas in a total of 20 small and large ninja villages were all cleaned up. Not even a tael of silver was spared. As soon as he walked out of the town, he saw Roha lying on the roof, yawning boredly. Seeing that, it seemed that he had been waiting for a long time. He didn't speak, and the horns, who knew that he couldn't help him, silently followed him, ready to get to know the other party first, see through the other party's flaws, and wait until the other party had no money to find an opportunity to solve it. Just after solving a Shangnin, obtaining a ninjutsu treasure box, and opening an ordinary earth escape, Roha instructed Jiaodu to go to the next base going where this kind of rebellion gathers, and he slowly disappeared into the air. The corners are busy dealing with the gap between the ninjas, and Roha has put all the valuable things in the bandits' old nest into the system warehouse. Under the eyes of Kagura, these things are invisible. In the same way, he slaughtered Shangnin, and opened an illusion and fox heart technique from the refreshed ninjutsu treasure box. Roha put his mind on the silver treasure box he just got, and ordered the system to open it. Congratulations to the host for opening the silver treasure chest and obtaining a detailed explanation of the Zanpakuto. Detailed explanation of Zanpakuto. From the world of Shinigami, the Detailed Explanation of Zanpakuto, published by the True Spiritual Art Institute, is a primary textbook for new students to learn about the Zanpakuto and guide their use. Textbook. Knowledge is Power. One Piece World published 36 stratagems, and gave himself a detailed explanation of Zanpakuto. System, you are really a little expert in teaching. After complaining, Roha took out the Detailed Explanation of Zanpakuto in the system and studied it carefully. It's been a long time since I got a shallow beating. and now I can only occasionally feel the existence of a consciousness, but I still can't communicate. 2 words, my name, seems to have exhausted all the strength of Zanpakuto, and there is no text at all, because Roha's progress is extremely slow because he does not understand the power system of the god of death. While flipping through the book in his hand, Roha waited for the arrival of Jiaodu, and after more than 10 minutes, it had already appeared within the range of Kagura's eyes. Aren't you worried about me running away? I have a wealth that makes the whole world jealous. You can't bear it. Go, the people above are handed over to you. He threw a gem again, and Roha put his mind on the book again in his leisure time. He had not read the book well after graduating from high school. Now it seems quite difficult to re-enter the learning state. It is more than an inch thick. Book, I haven't read a few pages yet. Squinting his eyes, he looked in the direction of this nest of wandering ninjas, and his horns flew upwards. For a person like Jiaodu, he can either lure him or use his sincerity to impress him. Ideals will not work for him. As long as he gets used to obeying orders, sooner or later, he will be willing to be used by Roha one day. Just like training a pet, every time it is asked to do a certain action, it is tempted with food. Over time, even if there is no food, it will be obedient. Under the unrelenting attack of the old-fashioned shadow-level powerhouse Jiaodu, all the ninjas in the dens died not long after. Come on, next place. Roha said a word to the returning horn, and disappeared again in front of his eyes. This strange and unpredictable ability, the horn is terrified, and secretly thought in his heart, if it suddenly appeared in front of him, he might not have reacted. Came here and lost his life. What is this man for? The more I thought about it, the more corners began to guess Roha's purpose. After all, spending such a huge amount of money to clear some insignificant ninjas is really weird. For more than a day, Roha took the horns to clean up the country of the moon simply and rudely. The tired and dead dog horns held the 4-colored gems in his arms, and his eyes were shining with green light. Both attribute treasure chests have been included in the system warehouse, and the corner will not recover for a while. Roha took advantage of his rest, and put his mind on the system. Chapter 0451-Kushina's birthday. System, open the attribute treasure chest. Congratulations to the host for opening the attribute treasure chest ×2, getting lucky +1, potential +10. Luck and potential. The corners of his mouth curved, and Roha sighed that the system was finally reliable. What was added to the first 2 attribute treasure chests? You have a good-looking appearance. What can you do with a little charm? There is also that inexplicable persistence. His combat effectiveness is very strong. How can he use it to prolong it? This time, the attribute treasure chest has added a little luck. He has always carried the ring, blessing of the goddess of luck, from Pirate World. Although it has no obvious effect, luck is a thing that adds up to a lot, and it may be added. In addition, he became the old friend of the goddess of luck. If there is a lack of equipment, someone will send it. If there is a lack of men, the tiger's body will be shocked, and people from all walks of life will come to vote. The boss doesn't need to fight. No matter how strong the boss is, when you encounter yourself, you are either restrained or dead. The level of potential is like the difference between Vegeta and Broly. One who is exhausted will not be able to rise in combat power, and one who falls asleep easily will increase in combat power. All in all, both attributes are attributes that the more the better, and Roha finally no longer complains about the attribute treasure chest this time. After opening the treasure chest, Roha scratched the tip of his nose and beckoned to the corner who was holding the ground and grudges and mended clothes like grumpy women. What are you doing? He pulled up the mask to cover the stitched wound on his face, and put on the clothes that he didn't know which ninja came from. The green eyes with horns were no longer prepared at the beginning. He could see that the man in front of him could no longer be said to be a big customer, but a man of the same level as Shinhao, and the gem was thrown out like he didn't want money. Jiaodu, there is a long-term mission, and the salary is generous. Roha, who finally showed the fox's tail, pretended to be casual, and said lightly, looking forward to Jiaodu's answer in his heart. I don't even know the name of my employer. I'm afraid I won't know who to ask for money in the future. Huh, didn't I tell you? Ignoring Roha's rhetorical question, Kakuto's expression was full of gloom at this time. From start to finish, this guy is joking, saying a fart name besides giving orders. And there is no strong man in his memory who can match the number with the man in front of him. This man seems to appear out of thin air. My name is Vortex Chuya, remember, of course you can also call me the boss. The Uzumaki family, isn't it the Uchiha family? Cut, is there the Uchiha clan if you have Sharingan? This thing, if you want, come back and get a pair for you. With a casual wave of his hand, Roha put the topic behind him and turned back to the topic again. You also know my identity, then Jiaodu, what's your answer? It sounds like it's an escort mission, 30 million taels a month. If I owe the commission, I'll leave. When it comes to making money, Jiaodu has always been open to anyone who comes here. This time I can ask a few more questions because I have the highest sense of vigilance in my heart. After all, the strength of the man in front of me is too terrible. 30 million taels of silver in the Hokage world a month. If you convert the unit slightly, it is almost equivalent to a monthly salary of several 100,000 a month in the previous life, which is still quite cheap for a shadow-level master like Jiaodu. There are no shadow-level masters in the Whirlpool family, and Roha can't help them here all the time. If you want to gain a firm foothold in the country of the moon for a long time, it is inevitable to find a bodyguard to escort them. Jiaodu is equivalent to coming to the door. In the original novel, Konoha lived to Konoha for more than 60 years, and that was because he was tired of living, and he had to fight to the death with the Son of Destiny, otherwise it would be quite simple to live 1,000 years and 800 years old. At least when he is not there, Jiao can't die, and there will be no problem in the country of the moon. The Whirlpool family can survive in another form. When they need to employ people in the future, they can call them with a wave of their hands. After telling Kakuto about the general content of the mission, he threw down a pile of going jewelry as a deposit, and Roha returned to Eddy Tide Village. As soon as I got back here, I saw Kushina, who was kicking her calf in the room and playing with Chiban in boredom. From the day she didn't go to Konoha, she abandoned her original identity and couldn't play carefree with her original friends. The only thing she could do every day was to be with Roha. Brother, you're back. Seeing Roha standing in the room, Kushina jumped off the bed and threw herself into his arms, her little face full of attachment. After Tsunade and others left, Kushina knew Roha's identity. After asking if she would still be as good to her as before, and getting a positive answer, he readily accepted that. Great, brother. Well, Kushina is bored alone. No, I learned all the ninjutsu taught by my brother today. Sticking out her little tongue, Kushina rubbed her little face in Roha's arms, and in order not to worry him, she directly told a small lie. A 5-year-old girl has no playmates, can't play at will, can only learn ninjutsu in a boring way. How can she not be boring? All this is because of wanting to be with Roha. Brother, tomorrow is my birthday. It seemed a little embarrassed. Kushina buried her face in Roha's arms and never raised it. Because he has been dealing with the Uzumaki family during this period of time, Roha has not been able to accompany Kushina well except for leaving ninjutsu. That means Kushina will officially be 5 years old tomorrow. Yeah. Nodding her little head, a longing surged in Kushina's heart, hoping that her brother would be able to spend it with her tomorrow. In the ninja world, when children grow up to 5 years old, it represents another stage, just like most of Konoha's children start to go to ninja school when they are 5 years old. Kushina, wait at home for a while, brother will be back in a while and take you to a place. Yeah. Seemingly turned into a chicken pecking rice, Kushina only nodded, showing neat teeth, grinning and watching her brother walk towards the clan. Chapter 0452 Your Highness. Roha's disguise turned into a child, came to the clan, looked at the vortex jade pillar that was arranging various matters in an orderly manner, and nodded indistinctly. The most powerful thing about Purgatory Heart Devourer is not the ability to change a person's mind, but the ability to plant the thoughts you want without compromising his talents or character. Seeing the arrival of Roha, after the Whirlpool Jade Pillar ordered the respective tasks of several clansmen, they led them to the quiet room in the back hall. Your Excellency forgives your sins for making you wait for a long time. No problem, I came here to let you know that I have found a shadow-level powerhouse for you in the country of the moon to escort you. After you pass by, you must make good use of his power. There are two shortcomings in this person's character. One is to regard wealth as fate, and the other is because of the betrayal of the village. In fact, I crave companionship more than anyone else in my heart, and I think there should be unexpected gains. Quote. My subordinate understands. Well, the rest is going according to the original plan. Remember, the superficial effort is done well. Once the enemy sees a flaw in this kind of thing, it will be completely forfeited. Yes, follow your instructions. Speaking of the words, Roha turned around and left the clan. After all, his current identity is only a junior disciple of the Whirlpool family. Although he was cultivated as a leader of the next generation, but with the Whirlpool Jade Column, this guy's respectful attitude, it will be easy to reveal flaws. If it affects your own plans, that's not good. Walking all the way to his hut, Roha rubbed his chin, constantly thinking about how to celebrate this birthday for Kushina. Kushina gave up going to the prosperous Konoha in order to be with him, and could only study ninjutsu alone every day. Roha saw everything in his eyes, and his heart was also distressed. This birthday must be unforgettable enough for Shaunizi. In the country of Vortex, it is undoubtedly very difficult to do this. Fortunately, the shining of the kaleidoscope shaker can also bring people to move, but the consumption of carrying one person is twice as large as that of oneself. For the immortal body, there is no burden at all. There are still a lot of prosperous places in Naruto world. The hot springs in Tang Ninja Village are the most famous, and the ninja tool trade in the craftsman's country also makes the economy there ahead, but they can't meet Roha's requirements. After much deliberation, only the capital of the Land of Fire is good enough. As the place with the most resources in the Naruto world, it is relatively good under the regime of daimyo. After deciding on the destination, he returned to his hut and brought Kushina with him. In a flash, Roha and her appeared outside the capital of the country of fire. Here is it. Holding Roha's waist, Kushina's face was cute, as if she couldn't understand why the scenery in front of her had changed in a flash. The capital of the country of fire, this is my brother's ability to reach any place in the world. After explaining softly, Roha took Kushina's little hand and walked towards the capital. Because of the existence of ninjas in the Naruto world, the city walls can't even stop it, and the country of fire only has a row of low city walls that are used to intercept ordinary people. In Roha's heart, such a city wall is incomparable with the previous life, even with the small island countries of the pirate world, but in the eyes of Kushina, it is very different. She has never left the country of Vortex since she was born, and the Vortex village is where she grew up. The city wall that stretches for an unknown number of miles makes her deeply shocked. Because of the reasons before the war, the gates of the capital of the country of fire were wide open, but just like the feudal dynasties in the past, entering the city had to pay a certain entrance tax. Throwing a silver tail at random, Roha led Kushina to the city. The soldier guarding the gate didn't dare to make a sound like a commoner when he saw Roha's fine fabrics. As this, prosperity. The endless stream of carriages, the people coming and going, the row upon row of shops and stalls one after another made Kushina dazzled. Kagura's eyes covered the entire capital, and Roha took Kushina to the best shops, tasting all kinds of delicious snacks, and the smile on Kushina's face never fell. At night, staying in the most luxurious state hotel in the country of fire to receive foreign guests, Kushina was still full of excitement, and the little regret that she did not go to Konoha disappeared. Brother, you're so kind, Tilda. Kushina jumped up to Roha and pecked his face lightly, and his little face was covered with blush first. Hurry up and rest, tomorrow is your birthday, you will be happier than today. Roja put the little girl on the soft couch, covered the quilt, and turned to leave room. With a smile on her lips, Kushina soon fell asleep. Everything in the dream was so beautiful that she laughed very happily even in the dream. After leaving the room, Roja put on an invisibility cloak and shuttled through the capital. In order to give Xiaonizi a happy birthday, he was busy tonight, and now there are not many reliable subordinates, and he still needs to do everything himself. Money plus illusion, if it is not enough, coercion and inducement, visited hundreds of people, and worked all night until midnight, before Roja returned to the state guest house. Right now in Kagura's mind, Kushina, who was sleeping, smacked her mouth, as if she had dreamed of something delicious, and a drop of saliva slipped from the corner of her mouth, looking cute. Lying in the next room, Roja couldn't help but chuckle, closed his eyes, and began to rest. The next day, the sleeping Kushina opened her eyes and saw the luxurious room for the first time, and there was a slight sense of discomfort. She was wearing pajamas and wanted to find her brother next door. She pulled gate of opening and saw that she was kneeling at the door. The first two maids. "Good morning, Your Royal Highness, this is the clothes your lord has prepared for you." "Princess, Your Highness, me." Dazedly pointed at himself with a finger, Zhu Xinai's face was all confused. He looked back at the slightly luxurious bed, and thought to himself, did he not wake up? Chapter 0453 Kushina's welfare chest. The days didn't last long. Roja, who opened the door, walked in front of Kushina, ravaged the little head, and messed up the red hair again. "Today's Kushina is the princess, the most honorable princess," he explained softly with a smile, and Roja was full of doting on his face. Kushina was still a little unclear when she heard the words, so in her heart, the princess was the kind of high-altitude existence, which seemed to have nothing to do with herself at all. According to the old people in the village, when the Whirlpool family was strong, there was once a princess named Whirlpool Mito. She was gentle, virtuous, kind and beautiful, and she was loved by thousands of people. "Can I become a princess too, brother? You are amazing," Kushina said dully. A happy smile slowly bloomed on Kushina's face, and she jumped into her brother's arms with excitement. The two maids covered their mouths and smiled, looking at the little princess in front of them with envy. It is really a very happy thing to have a brother who loves them. After the excitement, the two maids began to serve Zhu Xinai dressing and grooming. The luxurious clothes gave Xiaonizi an unreal illusion, as if she was in a dream. Different from the traditional kimono, Kushina wears authentic hanfu, which is more delicate and elegant than the kimono. Various carefully matched accessories and headgear make it look noble and extraordinary. Standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror that Roja took out, looking at himself in the mirror, Kushina covered her mouth. "Brother, is this really me?" The silly question was not answered. Roja squatted down and gave Kushina a slight head break, and the delicate headdress on his hair made him temporarily unable to ravage the long red hair. People rely on clothes and horses on saddles, and Kushina's round smiling face at this time looks extraordinarily lovable, more noble than a real princess. "Come on, my little princess. Brother, don't make fun of me." Good. Looking at the nervous little girl, Roja's smile became wider, and he took her little hand and walked out of the gate of the state guest house. The bright red carpet went straight to a huge flower field outside the city. Red lanterns were hung on both sides of the street. 8 white horses with no variegation on their bodies pulled the golden-red chariots and had been waiting at the door for a long time. On board the carriage, surrounded by a large number of people, Kushina had a confused expression on her face. Roja had already made arrangements along the way, and even in order to avoid accidents, even the commander of the grassroots city guards was given illusion by Roja. It's just that some ordinary people who have no power to bind chickens have no resistance to illusion at all. With the increase of Sherinian, a simple illusion can make them obey their orders. As for the few guardian ninjas in the country of fire, where are Roja's opponents, and those ministers are all the same, and they have absolutely no strength of the later guardian ninjas. Last night, when I was helping Kushina plan her birthday, I had an idea. I thought that since I wanted to brainwash the senior management of the Country of Fire, I simply added some capital to the Country of the Moon to be established. Quietly used Heart Eater to implant several small subconscious minds in the minds of the high-level executives. One of them is, the Kingdom of the Moon is a friendly neighbor of the Kingdom of Fire. This year, the Princess of the Kingdom of the Moon is 5 years old. In order to deepen the relationship between the two countries, the friendly relationship between the two, and hereby hold a grand banquet for the Princess of the Moon Kingdom. This kind of ordinary person, if a consciousness is sent over, the other party can only passively accept it, without any effort at all. Early in the morning, intensive preparations were made in the capital of the Kingdom of Fire, and under the communication of the city guards, the news was quickly known to everyone. Because of the need to celebrate with the whole world, the big name of the Land of Fire ordered that the capital city's tax be reduced for half a year, and the city's entry tax was exempted for 1 year. Passing by the street, the people kept cheering to Jushinai's carriage, which made the little girl on the luxurious carriage excited and at the same time at a loss. The city guards acted as guards along the road under the command of their commander, sending Kushina's chariot to the flower field along the way. The flower field has changed a lot now. All kinds of delicacies are placed on the long square table, exuding an attractive fragrance, and the musicians playing wonderful music also began to play a festive tune. All the delicacies of the Fire Country were brought to the table, and the princes and nobles were already waiting at the entrance of the flower field. "Welcome Your Royal Highness the Princess of the Moon Kingdom." Countless people saluted and greeted Kushina. Under Roha's guidance, the little girl raised her hand gently, with a noble style. "No gift." Those simple words made Kushina excited too. Looking at the beautiful flower field and countless people celebrating her birthday, her face turned red. Countless artists were searched for, one by one performers performed their best shows, and countless delicacies were brought to Jushinai. Throughout the day, the smile on the little girl's face never stopped. Every girl has a princess dream, even Kushina is no exception. As night fell, Roha took the little girl to the highest viewing platform in the Country of Fire. The fireworks brought from Pirate World and the original fireworks of the Land of Fire are mixed in the night sky, bringing a dazzling brilliance, which is a treatment that the Princess of the Land of Fire has never had. "Brother, it's so beautiful." Holding Roha's big hand, Kushina stared at the fireworks in the sky in a daze. This day was really like a dream, and everything made him happy. "Are you satisfied with the gift I gave you? Her Royal Highness the Princess of the Moon Country. Brother is making fun of me again, hee, I'll be a princess in the future." Turning around and hugging Roha, Kushina had an unstoppable smile on her face. Her brother brought all good things to her, and this was her happiest day. The little girl who planned to build the Country of the Moon has always been by Roha's side, so she knows a little bit, but she never imagined that she would become a princess. "Well, you will always be a princess." With a doting smile, he touched the little girl's head. Roha was about to take her to sit on the high stool that had been prepared, but saw Kushina's side refreshed. A pink treasure chest. Chapter 0454-Mist Ninja Attacks. In the pirate world, the refresh of the treasure chest was only available after the age of 5, and in the Naruto world, a positive and negative favorability score of 50 was added. Kushina's favorability to Roha naturally doesn't need to be said. It has long been at the point of life and death, but it is not refreshed because of age. As soon as the time of birth has passed, it will be refreshed naturally. After waving away the treasure chest on the ground, Roha and Kushina sat on the high stool together before turning to the system warehouse. Kushina's treasure chest, 3 nights in the same bed with Kushina, 3/3, has been completed. Angrily touched the tip of his nose. This was the first treasure chest that Roha got that could be opened without completing the quest, although this condition was a bit shameful. As early as after Kushina and Kinako changed their identities, Xiaonizi has been sleeping with Roha. After all, a small shabby house cannot be too demanding. It won't be long before the Vortex village is destroyed by the war, and Roha has no interest in building the house at all, but the bedding is a little better, and it will be done when it is soft and thick. System, open the treasure chest. Congratulations to the host for opening the treasure chest and obtaining a new type of bamboo dragonfly. New bamboo dragonfly, from the world of Doraemon, a prop that can make people fly for a short time. After the propeller of the bamboo dragonfly rotates, an anti-gravity field will be generated around the body, blocking the ground gravity, and it can continue in the air at a speed of 80 km per hour. Flying, no need to replace the battery for solar charging, and a 20% increase in favorability exclusive to Kushina. Doraemon and Nobita often use. There are only two ways to fly in the Naruto world, one is to use flying psychic beasts, and the other is to use special ninjutsu. Just like Sai's Super Beast pseudo painting, Gaara's sand, Madara's Susa. The bamboo dragonfly in the world of Doraemon seems to be out of power for 8 hours and needs to replace the battery. The new bamboo dragonfly saves even changing the battery and charges directly with solar energy. The interest in playing this kind of thing is secondary. In the Naruto world, with the ability to fly, safety can definitely be greatly guaranteed. Kushina, I'll give you another birthday present. Hey, is there anything else? Handing the bamboo dragonfly from the warehouse to Kushina's hand, Roha briefly explained the usage. Kushina, who was eager to try it, directly put the bamboo dragonfly on it, shook it for a while, and flew up. In just a moment, she mastered the trick and flew around in the sky. The crisp laughter came under the fireworks, and the bright smile seemed to be able to infect everyone. Roha, who was in a good mood, joined hands with Kushina to fly to the high sky of the capital of the country of fire, and released skills that had not been used for a long time. The power of tranquility. Green and life-filled raindrops began to fall in the capital city, and the festive civilians swept away the fatigue of the day after touching the green and shining raindrops. The original dark disease began to gradually improve, and some patients who had a cold or were sick gradually recovered under the green raindrops. Everyone looked up at the Princess of the Kingdom of the Moon, standing in the sky in the brilliance of Lu Yingying. The next day, rumors began to spread that the Princess of the Moon Kingdom was the messenger of the Goddess of the Moon, who could dispel the suffering and disasters of the world, and drive away the pain and suffering. Flying slowly in the sky hand in hand with Roha, Kushina looked at his brother with a puzzled expression. Brother, why didn't you tell them that you did it? It's all the brother's credit. Because this was originally Kushina's credit. Touching the little girl's head, Roha's cloudy answer made Kushina even more confused, but thinking that what his brother did was right, he stopped asking in a flash, and looked at the earth under 10,000 meters curiously. Roha grinned. If it wasn't for Kushina, the ghost would have nothing to do with the power of tranquility. The life in the capital of the country of fire does not get sick, and it has something to do with him. A few hours later, after enjoying the beauty of the sky in the early morning, Kushina also seemed to be a little bit lacking in interest, and the two used shining to return to the hut in the Vortex village. In the eyes of Kagura, everything was going on in an orderly manner, and Roha took Kushina to start new training and learning. Kushina's constitution is special. The bloodline of the Vortex family gives her a chakra amount that is extremely disproportionate to her age, and her resilience and adaptability are quite strong. In the ninja world, Roha cannot be by his side all the time, which requires Kushina to have a certain self-protection ability. The comfortable days lasted for a few days. The secret Vortex clan had arrived in the land of the Moon Land one after another. After Jiaodu came out and swept away some rogues, they slowly began to build new villages. That night, after a day's training with Kushina, Roha's Kagura sensed the ship slowly approaching in the distance. There were more than 30 Shangren, nearly 100 Zongren and Jiren. The strength is enough to completely destroy the country of Vortex. With the power of so many ninjas, there is no other country except the 5 major countries. Coming. With his eyes condensed, Roha's figure became illusory, and he appeared beside the Whirlpool Jade Pillar in the blink of an eye. The enemy has appeared 50 kilometers away, order to go down and start. Yes. The reaction of the Whirlpool Jade Pillar was also very fast. and he knelt down on one knee in response and used the instant body technique to inform his subordinates. The Vortex Village, which has not changed at all on the surface, has entered a comprehensive alert. In the eyes of Rojas Kagura, the entire Vortex Village was buried in the underground ceiling formation. The subtle energy fluctuations could not be discovered by outsiders except for ninjas who were good at sealing. It is certain that the force that destroyed the Vortex Village in the original book must be this one. Squinting, Kagura swept over more than 100 ninjas, and Rojas saw the ninja forehead within the leggings of one of the ninjas. Water Ninja Village. The special label can't be faked, and no one will be free to frame Wu Nin Village. After all, such a lineup is only a family's whirlpool village, and it is almost certain. Chapter 0455_Both Sides Contest. In the quiet Vortex Village at night, 20 Joinin people were waiting in full force, and more than a dozen Chunin-level clansmen were also gearing up for it. At the moment, some other Chunin and Genin-level combat powers in the village have been transferred, and they are the last group left. There will be a show today, so that the Whirlpool family will disappear from the sight of others and turn into secret development. Roja, who changed his appearance and was shrouded in a black robe, saw everyone under the recommendation of the Whirlpool Jade Pillar. Although the people of the Whirlpool clan were very wary of the sudden appearance of strangers, they reluctantly let go of their grievances after knowing that the other party was a close friend of the Patriarch and a key part of the plan. Slowly approaching the boats in the Vortex Village, more than 30 Shangnin gathered together, and their expressions were also solemn, and several of them had been to the Vortex Village for the first time, and were taken by them. Joinin of Karenin Village who was repelled. You should know that the ghost lamp Shengshuan Yusheng endured in the last raid, and our last plan also failed completely. This time, Master Shuiying has issued a strict order to wipe out the Whirlpool family. Let the sealing technique flow into the hands of other countries. With a gloomy expression, he told Jonin to sit again. The person who spoke was the leader of the team last time. Because of his experience with the seal technique, he began to tell others about the way to deal with the seal technique. There are several kinds of sealing techniques of the Vortex family that can restrain the water escape ninjutsu. Among them, the sealing technique of water, the King Kong blockade is particularly a threat to us. What's more troublesome is that the sealing technique is one of their 5 attribute basic sealing techniques. King Kong blockade is an ability that everyone must learn. After telling a lot of precautions and countermeasures to his companions who sat down again, the Junin looked in the direction of Yutsuo village with solemn eyes. This time, the purpose is different from the last time. My purpose is to wipe out the enemy. So, try to gather the enemies together and kill them all at once. Understood. Hearing that everyone who sat down had already understood the plan of the battle, the leader of the team, Joinin, announced that they would take their places. Not long after, the boat docked, and more than 100 people quietly moved towards the Whirlpool village behind the dense forest. Boom tilde bam. A fireworks exploded in the air, and the deafening alarm bell was sounded. Roja, who was standing at the head of the village, looked at the crowd of Mistin village, who was a little flustered in Kagura's eyes. No, it's been discovered. Go. Seeing the fireworks in the sky, the ninjas in Mist Ninja Village looked grim. This time, the reaction of the Vortex clan was many times faster than the last time. Under the attack, they stepped up their vigilance. It is not a secret that the Maelstrom clan's perception of blood traces is not a secret. Although it is rare, it is also regarded as the strongest perception technique. As a neighboring country, of course they know it. 131 people. 1,500 meters, 1,000 meters, 800, 700, 6, 5. Uzumaki Nazuo, who has the ability to perceive, held the seal in his hand, and sensed the enemy with his eyes closed. Constantly reporting the distance to each other. Sealing technique. 5 elements suck. Hearing that the enemy had entered the attack range, the Whirlpool Yuju shouted loudly, and the clansmen beside them began to form seals. 400 meters range. The huge sealing formation on the ground was activated. This is the trump card of the Vortex family. The group sealing technique requires at least 10 or more people of the Jinan level to activate. The 5 chakra properties are all restrained by the 5 elements, which is why many countries are afraid of the seal clan. Not only can they seal the tailed beast, but they have the ability to restrain most ninjutsu. Oops. Spread out. Attack from both flanks. The ninjas of the upper ninja level can barely avoid the frontal suction, but the fast-rushing chunin and lower ninjas are unable to resist at all, and go directly and uncontrollably in the direction of the 5 elements sucking. Water escape water breaks waves, water escape water cuts, earth escape earth formation wall. All kinds of ninjutsu have been used, except those who use the non-attribute blinking technique to evade, or the powerful fighting technique. As long as they step into the attack range, the ninjutsu of the chunin does not work at all, and it spins around. Also sucked in. Whether it's someone who traps themselves in water prison, and who is immune to enemy attacks, or who tries to block them with attribute defense ninjutsu, without exception, they fall into trouble here. The slower ninja hurriedly turned around and walked to both sides, avoiding the frontal attraction. Damn. Seeing that more than 20 chunin and jinin were sacrificed in just one face-to-face meeting, the leader Mist Ninja's face turned blue. Last time I went back, I finally won a chance to make a guilt and meritorious service. In battle, the Vortex clan did not use such techniques at all. Seeing the effect caused by the collapse of the 5 elements, Roha nodded. Although he said that this move was a little troublesome and needed to be arranged in advance, the effect was indeed extraordinary. Water escape mist hidden technique. It's an old strategy again. The fog ninjas living in the thick fog can't care about revealing their identities at this time, as long as they kill all the opponents afterwards. The most important thing for this kind of large-scale sealing formation is the cooperation with each other. At this time, if you use the fog concealment technique, you can successfully eliminate the connection between the opponents, and no matter how strong the formation is, it will collapse. The 5 elements sucking is powerful, but when dozens of mist ninjas use one ninjutsu together, they are blocked from the side for a while, and the cooperation of several people is messed up, and the formation of 20 people cannot be maintained. King Kong blockade. The Vortex Yuju shouted again, and a lot of chains appeared first behind him, and the group of people also used this trick when they heard the words. There is a chain link between each other, even in the thick fog. They can know each other's position, even if the 5 elements can't be used, but they will not be at a loss for the fog hidden technique. Raising his eyebrows, Roha sighed secretly that he was indeed someone who could become a patriarch when he saw the Vortex Jade Pillar. He really had 2 brushes, and through the thick fog, he also began to act. Chapter 0456_Illusion Memory Alteration. For Roha, the members of the Uzumaki family are his future subordinates after all. If you don't understand it, and lose its help, the key is where to put your own face. When it comes to the hidden mist technique, Roha used it much better than the pile of mist in front of him. He can clearly judge the position of each enemy, and a simple move can take the opponent's life. With the cooperation of Uzumaki Yuju's gesture, he deliberately began to pretend to be screaming ninjas of the Uzumaki clan, so that the unknown mist could bear to think that there was damage to each other. Slowly retreating toward the clan, Mist Ninja, who has simple detection in the thick fog, began to approach step by step. Due to his perception ability, Uzumaki Nazuo was blocked and protected in the center by the heavy diamonds. He kept opening his mouth to remind the enemy's location, and retreated to the clan's land, and everyone stopped. Beware of Misu Ninja, who appeared around from time to time, trying to break up the people who were closely guarding each other. The people of the Whirlpool clan began to divide their labor. Half of the people formed a handprint in the middle, and the other half narrowed the siege again to protect the person in the center. Knowing that they had started, Roha shuttled through the fog from time to time, interrupting the idea of the Kurigakushi ninja wanting to issue a collection of ninjutsu, and slaughtered a few from time to time. The 5 ninjutsu treasure chests that had been refreshed on the ground were also put away. Sealing technique gossip forbidden. With a loud shout, the ninjas of the Vortex clan who were constantly forming seals poured the chakra in their hands into the ground, a pillar of golden red light lit up, and the line runes of countless sealing techniques lit up in the entire Vortex Village. Gossip Ban can almost be said to be the last resort of the Vortex Village. Like the ghoul seal, this is a trick that perishes together. However, this trick does not require the caster to pay any price immediately, it is only after the detonation. Power, no one can escape. The thick fog under the hidden mist technique could not stop the red light from the Gossip Ban and the entire Vortex Village. Without thinking, the leader of the hidden cloud village began to hurriedly order to retreat, and many ninjas also saw the gradually lit up seal sigil. Under the command, they dodged even more quickly. The ground began to vibrate wildly, and the entire Vortex Village was wrapped in runes. The group of misty ninjas had reached the center of the village at this time, and how could they simply escape? The dazzling red light illuminated the entire Vortex Village, and the dense fog was washed away. Boom! The ground shook violently, like a natural disaster. The intensity of the vibration was even more terrifying than a magnitude 9 earthquake. The Vortex clan of ninjas who had completed ninjutsu gathered together with anxiety on their faces. If the best friend, invited by the patriarch, fell off the chain, then they will be doomed. Moment. The space fluctuations wrapped the 20 Shangnan and the Whirlpool Jade Pillars and activated their abilities, and everyone disappeared in the Whirlpool Village, and the entire village erupted with a terrifying power like a small nuclear bomb explosion. The ninjas in Mist Ninja Village were directly swept away by the explosion, and those who were close were directly decomposed into the tiniest molecules. Even the Jonin, in the face of this explosion, seemed extremely small and had no ability to resist at all. No matter what kind of defensive ninjutsu it is not as powerful as this. Just like ordinary people encountering tailed beasts, they are annihilated. Roha, who landed on the edge of the country of fire, spit out a suffocating breath, transferring so many people at one time, but his body did not feel tired at all, but his eyes were sore. "You guys go," said to the Vortex Jade Pillar, and under the voice change technique attached to the disguise technique, the voice was dry and hoarse. Roha ignored the people who were either happy or shocked, and used blink again to disappear. The explosion that spread throughout the Vortex Village was affected even hundreds of miles away. Standing on the coast of the Land of Fire, you could vaguely see the beam of light reaching the sky. With such power, if it is at the center of the explosion, it is a shadow-level powerhouse. Unless there is a bug-like defensive ninjutsu at the level of Wuji and Luo's Gate of Life, it can only end in a dead body. "Let's go." Vortex Yuju glanced at the direction of Vortex Village, said lightly, and went in the direction of Moon Country. The clansmen of the Whirlpool clan behind him hesitated to say something and wanted to say something, but could not speak, sighed silently in their hearts, and followed behind them. The men of unknown origin shrouded in black robes, even if they were rescued at this time, could not make them completely relieved. But while thinking that they had just been rescued, on the other hand, this man was the best friend in the mouth of the patriarch, and they also only temporarily suppressed the doubts. Returning to the Vortex Village, rubbing his sore eyes and standing above the 10,000-meter altitude, Kagura glanced at the situation below, and the corner of Roha's mouth evoked a satisfied smile. Mist Ninja Murakami has only survived 3, and they are all seriously injured. If they are not treated in time, they may die in a short time. You must know that when they attacked the Vortex clan just now, they rushed to the front and were the closest to the explosion. It is not easy to be able to save a small life. There were only 12 people left in Chunin and Shamanin. They stayed outside the village because they were not proficient in mist ninjutsu. As soon as he saw the red light, he quickly retreated. Although the injury was not minor, Holai saved his life. There are less than 20 people in total, and compared to the opponent's team of more than 100 people, it is not even a fraction. Roha grinned helplessly at the ground that didn't even have a treasure chest. He knew that he had killed a few more just now, but he was so busy that he only got a few ninjutsu treasure chests. However, the water escape ninjutsu has long been gathered, and when he turned his head and thought about Roha, he left it behind. Compared with his own fists and swordsmanship, ninjutsu or something is really too troublesome to use. Illusion. The art of nirvana. The eyes turned blood red, and the largest range of illusions was activated. Under the shattering eye and the perverted increase in mental power, the ninjas of the Korean village who survived the catastrophe fell into a stupor unknowingly. The original explosion had already made them mentally exhausted, and the sense of happiness that they survived made their minds relax to the extreme. There is nothing strange about these people's defenseless attacks. Illusion subconscious brain change memory technique. Chapter-441-460 Thanks to the help of Sherinian, the principle of the kaleidoscope pupil technique, heart-devouring, Roja successfully created this technique that can easily change people's memory. Different from the subterranean brain manipulation technique used by the red sand scorpion in the original book, the subterranean brain modification technique uses mental power to penetrate the opponent's spiritual world and forcibly add hallucinations. The requirements for mental power are very high. If it is calculated according to the rating of Naruto World, this illusion is definitely an existence above S rank. Stuffing the fabricated memories into the minds of these people one by one, even if Roja's mental strength is strong, he is really tired. This is still thanks to the help of the heart eater in the right eye. If others use such illusions, at most 2 or 3 people will be tired. Even so, the energy stored in the heart eater in the right eye is almost consumed, and if you want to recover, you won't have to think about it for a few years. It's done. He clapped his hands and looked at the fainted ninjas. Roja nodded with satisfaction, turned and left the land of the country of Vortex, towards going of the country of the moon. The memories of these remaining ninjas have been tampered with. In their memories, they experienced a fierce battle that was far more difficult than before, killing countless Maelstrom clan. In the end, when the Whirlpool clan knew that the situation was over, they activated the ban on gossip, and they all just escaped this disaster and barely kept their lives. The change in the Whirlpool village, the country of whirlpools, aroused the attention of many people. It was not 1 or 2 forces who had the idea of the Whirlpool family, and they came to the Whirlpool village one after another. 15 ninjas from Mist Ninja Village, who slowly came to their senses, looked at each other, supported the severely injured, and hurried back on the boat they came from. Groups of ninjas from different forces came to the land of the Vortex village, and saw that only the ruins were left, and there was not even a complete house left in the Vortex village. Except for a few broken stone pillars and bricks in the buildings where the energy of the ceiling formation was not completely consumed, there is no trace of human existence here at all. Occasionally there was blood seeping on the ground. Seeing this, they could only gather some of the stumps and broken arms on the ground and prepare to go back to study the bloodline boundary of Shuihua village. It's just that the stumps and broken arms on the ground, not the ninjas of Kirin village, or the corpses of those ninjas that Roja slaughtered in the land of the moon and the horn, have no value at all, and these people can only return without success. The remnants of the ninja who returned to the village made the second-generation Mesuiying ghost lantern burn with rage. Nearly 100 chunin, lower ninja and more than 30 upper ninjas were sent, but only 3 upper ninjas and 12 chunin came back. With shamanin, no ninja village can ignore such a loss. The most important thing is that there is no valuable information, no matter whether it is the blood boundary of the Vortex family or the sealing technique, none of them have got it. Such a major event has already dispatched the Kirin Intelligence Unit. With the cooperation of these people, the Kirin Intelligence Unit easily extracted their memories and proved what they said. Ghost Lantern Wanyu sat in Shuiying's office with a headache, constantly kneading the Jingming acupoint with one hand. The atmosphere of war between countries has made the current situation even more severe, and Karenin village has encountered such a huge loss at this critical juncture. The original idea of starting a war after taking the Yutsuo village can only be declared shattered. It seems that Wu Nin village still has to find a way to prevent the next wave from sweeping it head-on. If you want to gain benefits, you have to be more careful, or let other ninja villages see through the truth. I am afraid that Wu Ninja village will suffer immeasurable losses. Ghost Lantern Wanyu condensed for a long while, then summoned his assistant and issued one order after another. The news of the death of hundreds of ninjas, including 20 or 30 of them, was concealed by a ban, and even the worried ghost lantern Wanyu cast a curse on most of the insiders. All countries gradually received the news of the destruction of the Vortex Village. After receiving such news, Yan'an Village, Yunnan Village, and Sandian Village were constantly suspicious of each other, who was responsible for it. The corpses that were obtained after a lot of snatch at the scene were all moved into the research room, and those ninjas who were responsible for researching ninjutsu and bloodstains were in full swing. After Konoha got the news, the high-level officials on the bright side shouted, and the Hokage faction headed by Sarutobi Hiruzen expressed deep sympathy and condolences, and then fell silent, unable to figure out their attitude. After the Uchiha clan found out, they almost had to give each other a high five. The relationship between the Uzumaki clan and the Chinsho clan is very close. They never set off firecrackers because of the fact that they were ninjas from the same village. Superior. The only people who are filled with righteous indignation are the subordinates of the Senju clan headed by Uzumaki Mito. Although they are declining day by day, as the wife of the first Hokage, as long as Uzumaki Mito does not die for one day, the tree of Senju will not fall. Uzumaki Mito used almost all his strength to find the person who did it. Such a big move obviously aroused the dissatisfaction of the Konoha elders. Now Konoha is no longer the era of the Chinsho family. On the surface, the elders of Uzumaki Mito are obedient, but they have different thoughts in their hearts. Naigi's current position of Hokage is controlled by Hiruzen Sarutobi. As a disciple of the second generation, Hiruzen Sarutobi may not have much selfishness towards the Chinsho clan, but he will never watch the elders fall into trouble at this time. The reactions of various countries have little to do with Roha. After doing what he should do, he used Shining to come to the land of the Moon Country. Kushina, who was sent first, saw Roha who appeared and jumped directly into his arms. Knowing that there are enemies, she can't help her brother, which makes her feel guilty. Kakuto, you bastard. Do you dare to take a shower and show up again? Roha hugged Kushina's delicate body and looked at Kakuto, who pushed in the door with dissatisfaction. This guy is definitely going to the money changer again. Although I don't know why the money changer still welcomes him, the smell is definitely not wrong. Chapter 0458_Go to Konoha. Cough cough, I will meet the employer's requirements. After coughing twice in embarrassment, Jiaodu put down the dinner plate in his hand and turned around and walked out. The reason for embarrassment is not because Roha smells him again, but because going to exchange money means that he is going to take private work again. After all, he is currently employed. According to the ninja, he is carrying out an escort mission. Taking the time to run to exchange the heads of those scattered ninjas for bounties has violated the agreement of the ninja code. Roha doesn't think much about this. As long as there is nothing in the country of the moon, hunting ninjas in the corners can make the territory of the country of the moon more comfortable, beneficial and harmless. If the horns are not gone, Roha will have to instruct his subordinates to do so. After all, if a country is full of ninjas who murder, set fire, and cause harassment and trouble, the country will not be able to develop. Brother, Uncle Jiaodu is very good. Rubbing Roha's cheek, Kushina cutely said good things to Jiaodu. Oh, have you been in contact with him? The front foot sent Kushina over here. It's only been a few hours now. In such a short time, Kushina and Jiao are on the line. In Roha's heart, Kushina is not the kind of bad person, and being able to say good things to Kodo proves that Kodo is indeed a good person in her heart. I saw Uncle Jiaodu as soon as my brother left. He told his elder brother the whole process of their acquaintance. Ju Shinai had a timid expression on his face, as if he was afraid that he had done something wrong. Not long after Roha left, Jiaodu came back from the money changer when he heard a voice from his employer's room in the station, so he naturally wanted to check it out. Jiaodu was used to intrigue, and after seeing Kushina, he realized that the person in front of him was the employer's sister, so he sat with her and chatted with her. The newly built base has just appeared in general outline, because Jiaodu is a rebel and a master of shadow level. Although the people who migrated from the Whirlpool clan knew that they should have a good relationship with him, they involuntarily put on colored glasses in their expressions. Flattery, more of a fear. In the Naruto world, betrayal is not a good reputation. At first, Kushina didn't know the identity of Jiaodu, and after knowing it, she didn't care about the name of the betrayal. No shadow-level powerhouse was 1/10,000th as good as her brother in her heart. Kushina, who was only 5 years old and just had her birthday, was born with a likable trait. Her personality was pure like a red crystal. She was not flattering or polite. She just regarded Jiaodu as an ordinary uncle. Such an attitude made Kokoku, who had not felt the human touch for a long time, quite comfortable, and the more he chatted with Kushina, the more he got along. The food on the plate when he just entered the door was prepared for the little girl. Does that old guy from Jiaodu still have a childlike innocence? After listening to Kushina's narration, Roha looked at the dinner plate, the corners of his eyes twitched, and he couldn't figure it out. However, this old thing is taking advantage of itself. Jushinai calls her brother an uncle. Isn't it obvious that she is a generation younger? After washing the grudge with water, Jiaodu pulled back his mask, and a cool expression appeared in the room again. When is the mission deadline? Sitting on the high stool, the corners of the little girl looked at the devoured little girl with a hint of tenderness in her green eyes, as if she was looking at her granddaughter. There is no deadline, until the day you don't want to do it. I won't stop you from going out to fight the autumn wind occasionally, as long as you don't delay the business. A gleam of light flashed in his eyes. The corners pondered for a while, and nodded in response. The longer he wandered, the more he longed for a place where he could live, especially after meeting Kushina. The desire has increased sharply, and I think in my heart, maybe staying here is also a good choice. Should I change my name to your leader? Jiaodu was silent for a while and then spoke up, receiving a good reward and doing things that were not difficult. It seems that he should show his attitude at this time. The leader is the name of the bandit. Call it leader. Of course, you should know my identity by now. The mastermind behind. Smart. I will trouble you to take care of the little girl while I'm away. This is 10 years' reward, so I'll pay it to you in advance. With a wave of his hand, he took out a small pile of treasures from the system space, and directly shook the horns of Kaifan. Gems, and various precious instruments almost blinded his eyes. You must have emptied the national treasury of the Fire Nation, he said in a stern voice. Jiaodu took out the seal scrolls on his body, and collected the treasures one by one. There was no knowledge in the bottom of my heart, and Roha had an unfathomable smile on his face. The pirate world is vast and rich, and it is many times larger than the Naruto world. The treasuries of the 5 major countries combined may not necessarily have as much storage in his system warehouse. At the beginning of the Rainbow Fog, there were thousands of years of wealth accumulated by pirate ships and expedition ships. Brother, is there anything you want to leave? Kushina, who was eating the food, stopped and looked at Roha with reluctance. Just a word to take care of the corners made her feel the meaning of parting. Well, don't worry, I'll be back soon. Kushina needs to learn ninjutsu, you know. Roha whispered softly, rubbing the little girl's head. Kushina responded and concentrated on the food. Brother will not lie to himself, saying that he will be back soon. Of course he will be back soon. 3 days later, the Vortex Jade Pillar, who had carefully entered the Moon Country with hidden traces, met with the clansmen who came first. After ordering the future plan and leaving a lot of treasure for development, Roha took 2 Vortex tribesmen who had already been dealt with by him with the technique of submerged memory, and set foot on the country of fire. Path of. The territory of the country of the moon has been cleaned up. With the talent of the Whirlpool Jade Pillar and the help of the shadow-level powerhouse Jiaodu, as long as the road that allows the country of thunder to go to Konoha is cleared, the second ninja war will not be right. What an impact here. And then, it's time to go to Konoha to meet Tsunade's big fat sheep. Chapter 0459_Stinky Boy, still alive. With the huge treasure left by Roha, and the original background of the Vortex family, as long as World War II ends, the country of the moon will probably become a strong ninja village. Brainwashed. By Roha, the daimyo of the country of fire recognized the status of the country of the moon, and Konoha could not use swords against him. The land of thunder is longing for the emergence of a country that can act as a buffer between the land of fire and it. Of course, ignore it. As for the neighboring country of Tien and Tang, it is good to grow fields and soak in hot springs. If you dare to stretch your claws and stand up beyond your own capabilities, you will simply chop off their claws. Anyway, with a shadow-level powerhouse like Jiaodu in charge, destroying a small country is definitely not a difficult task at this time. Roha used Brief to take 2 Vortex clansmen, one big and one small, and arrived in the country of fire in a flash. The rest of the journey was the way of ordinary ninjas, and it only took more than half a day. The current costumes of the 3 have nothing to do with the Vortex clan, and even the 2 clansmen, one big and one small, are shrouded in black robes, and they all look like they are fleeing. Both of them have been tampered with a little memory. No matter who checked them, there will be no flaws. They appeared completely in coordination with Roha's actions. There are 6 out of 30 big ones, named Vortex Xiangyang, who is the Chunin of the Vortex clan. He has limited talent, and even his bloodline has not been awakened, only some sealing techniques that are not very difficult. 12 or 13 years old, his name is Uzumaki Tune, and he is already a genin, but such talent can only be said to be normal in the Uzumaki family. After walking for more than an hour, the 3 disguised refugee group met Konoha's ninja and hurriedly asked for help. Everything is going according to plan, and Konoha, who has always been based on the will of fire, will naturally lend a helping hand to the survivors of the former allies. After going through disease inspections, various troublesome injury inspections by medical staff, and a nutritious meal that tasted extremely bad, the 3 were taken to Hokage's office. The 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hizen sat behind Hokage's desk. Today, he is young and strong, and he is many times stronger than his old age in terms of courage and spirit. Proficient in all kinds of escape techniques, possessing a strong chakra volume and a strong physique, this is the 3rd generation of Hokage who can be respected by the ninja world as ninja. Can you tell us about your experience? He clasped his hands on the desk, and Hizen Sarutobi looked at the 3 people in front of him. Although he tried his best to soften his eyes, he still released a strong pressure. Okay. Facing the pressure of Shinobu, the Whirlpool Xiangyang stuttered a little, and Zanzan told the experience of the 3 of them majestically. Altered by Roha, the 3 of them were sent by the village to purchase some necessities of life. After the purchase was completed, they stayed in the country of fire. He hurried to going, the country of vortexes, but encountered people from unknown forces halfway through and was directly attacked by them. After repelling the enemy and getting the news that the vortex village had been destroyed, he turned to Konoha. Is that so? Hitting the desk, Sarutobi Hizen was about to say something, but the office was violently opened. Bang! The office door was built into the wall. Tsunade walked in aggressively, looking at the 3 people of the Whirlpool family in the office. His eyes lit up. She doesn't know the other 2, but she has a deep impression on Roha, this uncute child who is as arrogant as her younger brother. Stinky boy, he's still alive. Tsunade walked to Roha's side, and wanted to perform, touching the head, again, but was avoided, so he gave up angrily. In Tsunade's mind, the child in front of him experienced ups and downs, suffered a major change, and both parents died. Not long after they defected to the family was wiped out again. For any child, this experience is a bit cruel. Teacher, Mito grandma asked me to take the 3 of them back, saying that there are many vacancies in Senju's residence. Well, then I'll leave them to you. Sarutobi Hiden responded with a signal to Tsunade and the others to leave, and then burrowed into a pile of documents that could never be processed. The arrival of the survivors of the Whirlpool family gave the 3 generations both excitement and headaches, which meant that the power to completely control the tailed beast fell into Konoha's hands. Any shadow of Ninja Village will be excited about this, but the elders will not give up easily if they can control the bloodstain and sealing technique of the tailed beast. Uzumaki Mito is running out of time, which means that the remaining 6 people of the Uzumaki clan will become the targets of various small power gangs. In particular, 5 of the 6 people are children. If their stance is not firm enough, they are likely to fall to the power of the elders. War is approaching. Such a thing, how can Sarutobi Hizen, as Hokage, not feel it? At this time, Konoha did not dare to have the slightest internal friction. Coming out of Hokage's office, Tsunade, regardless of Roha's willingness or not, directly took his hand and went to the residence of the Chinsho clan. And in order not to affect his next process of integrating into Konoha, Roha, who had an awkward face, sighed in his heart, and could only let her lead. The clan of the Chinsho clan is not far from the Hokage building. After walking for a few minutes, they turned a street and arrived. Tsunade didn't say anything to the 3 of them, and directly led the 3 of them to Uzumaki Mito, the current head of the Senju clan. With a wrinkled face, Uzumaki Mito, who was about to die, was sitting in front of the low table and coughed softly. The old man had clearly felt that he might not be able to support him for a year at most. Princess. Uzumaki Xiangyang had an irresistible look on his face when he saw Uzumaki Mito. He had seen the heroic appearance of this princess in front of him when he was a child. The Uzumaki family, are you the only ones left? With an undisguised sadness on the old face, Uzumaki Mito said softly, his expression full of exhaustion and exhaustion. At the moment, Whirlpool Xiangyang reported to Whirlpool Mito what happened to him and others. Procrastinating, until Roha and others fell asleep, and a few people came out of their room under the leadership of Tsunade. Chapter 0460_Sword Change. With the 9 tails on Uzumaki Mito, Roha can clearly perceive that the evil chakra, even if it is under heavy seals, still can't stop escaping outward. This shows how weak the old man's body is. You will live here from now on, next to the residence of the 3 little guys. Walking to a house in the clan's land, Tsunade pushed open the unlocked door, and thick dust fell. It was obvious that the house had been uninhabited for a long time. The Thousand Hand clan suffered heavy losses in the First Ninja War. Since then, the population has become more and more sparse, and many houses have been idle for a long time. Thank you, Mr. Tsunade. Uzumaki Xiangyang thanked Tsunade gratefully. This kind of 3-entry courtyard is several times better than the original house in the country of Vortex. Your name is Chuya, right? You are about the same size as my brother Shungshu. If you have time, you can come to me. I will do what I say and teach you fighting techniques. An alternative comfort was given to the hard-working child in front of her. Tsunade turned around and headed for her residence. Shungshu was about to leave school, so she had to go home and take care of her brother. Shaking his head speechlessly, Roha walked into this temporary residence. Xiangyang, Toon, clean up. Yes, my lord. In the absence of outsiders, these 2 are Roha's most heartfelt subordinates. After hearing the order, they immediately started to get busy, cleaning up dust and spider webs. The busy business was temporarily over. Roha looked at the map system in his mind, and the dazzling diamond treasure chest brought a smile to his face. Konoha in this period can be described as not strong. The peak period of Ninja Sarutobi, Konoha Hakudo Hagi Sakumo, Shimura Danzo, who was able to compete with Sarutobi in his youth, and those who have not yet won the title of Sanin Jiraiya, Tsunade, Orochimaru and others. The location that can be refreshed is not surprising, but the location of the refresh is indeed a bit scratching. Kagura's heart has already enveloped the entire Konoha village, and at the location of the diamond treasure chest, a man with a breath as strong as the 3 generations of the prime is drinking tea there. Konoha Shirato Hataki Sakumo. Rolling his eyes, Roha was accustomed to the system's urination, and it's not bad that he didn't refresh the diamond treasure chest to Danzang's old nest. Taking advantage of the time when Xiangyang and Toon were cleaning up the room, Roha pretended to be hanging out and walked towards the residence of the Hataki family in a hurry. Walking on the street and looking at the prosperous Konoha village more than 10 years later, Roha pouted. Tsunade's original speech was incomparable Konoha blowing, and now it seems to compare the land of fire as a little off. Yil Ramen has not yet opened here, but the barbecue restaurant has opened, but it is far from the later scale. The meatball restaurant, which is the favorite of the young apprentice Red Bean, is still a ninja shop. Watching casually, Roha walked to the residence of the Hitaki family, and knocked on the door generously. Invisibility cloaks can hide from existences below the shadow level. Facing the shadow level, the slight airflow can let them find out. If their identity is discovered at that time, it will be a lot of trouble, so it is better to go directly to the door. And Roha is still very curious about Hitaki Sakumo. A person who can become a shadow-level powerhouse is not only talented, but also relying on swordsmanship. Without a strong state of mind, how can it be possible to achieve this level? The suicide by incision in the original book is very strange no matter how you think about it. Squeak tilde. The door slammed softly, and an old servant stuck his head out of the mansion, looking at Roha in front of him with a puzzled expression. Child, who are you looking for? With hands full of age spots and cloudy eyes, the old man in front of him was at least 70 years old. The kind face seems to be indifferent to the world, and did not expel Roha because of his young age. Hello old man, is Hitaki Sakumo Kamijin in? Son, do you have anything to do with Sakumo-sama? Knowing that it was not random knocking on the door, the old man greeted Roha and led the way slowly ahead. Ordinary children would not take the initiative to find ninjas. Even among Konoha, ninjas are all superior, let alone Hitaki. A powerful ninja like Sakumo. My name is Uzumaki Chuya, and I came here to ask some questions about swordsmanship. The Vortex clan. Wrinkling his eyebrows, the old servant quietly brought Roha to Hitaki Sakumo. It stands to reason that the affairs of the master's family are not the servant's responsibility, and the question just now was just because he was too young. I was afraid that it was just a child's nonsense and disturbed the master. Lambo, go get busy. Hitaki Sakumo smiled at the old servant while making tea, and nodded for Roha to sit down. With a keen sense of hearing, he has already heard what Roha said in the small courtyard just now. Is it Uzumaki Chuya? If you have any questions, I will try my best to help you answer them. There is no ordinary Jonin who is arrogant in the face of others, nor does he care about the view of the door. Hitaki Sakumo pushed a cup of tea in front of Roha with an approachable expression. A ninja who values his companions and loves the village. This is Roha's first feeling. Only when he regards the village as his home will his eyes show this look of looking at the younger generation. For the sake of your good attitude, I'll take it lightly when I go back and greet your son. With a secret thought in his heart, Roha stretched his hand into his arms to look like he was taking something, and took out the basic swordsmanship scroll that was written and placed in the system warehouse in his spare time. This is the swordsmanship that my father left me, and I hope I can exchange it for the Hitaki swordsmanship. The reason is that he had already thought about it on the way here, otherwise, could Roha still say that he came to White Fang for tea? The two did not know each other, and Roha looked like a child of 8 or 9 years old now. I really dare to say that, no matter how good-natured people are, they will have a black face. The face is quite cautious. Roha's eyes have been quietly looking at the diamond treasure chest behind White Fang. It seems that this treasure chest can be obtained without any effort. Swordsmanship. After a little hesitation, Hitaki Sakumo picked up the swordsmanship scroll on the table in front of him.